push from behind. I think he got it. The crowd here, the far side judge says first down the way he's stepping, and the near side
they're moving it back. They're both moving it back. They had it easily over. They brought it back quite a bit. Quarterback's at the top of the mountain.
First and goal. Holmes still has it. To the 5, and in for the touchdown.
We don't see Mahomes and Andy Reid run that play very often, but with season on the line, they pull it out.
And they go for 2. Mahomes looking right side. Pressure up top, back of the end zone. Watson with the catch.
He's going to have time here, Jim.
Whole season for Buffalo on the line here. There they come. He just desperately throws it up in the air, incomplete. Kincaid was right there.
Spagnuolo pretended to not blitz. Safeties are back, and he sends a corner blitz.
No
and
flag.
It comes free. He waited all game to send the most exotic pressure.
3rd and 9 as Butker prepares to be called on.
Season on the line right here. Here it comes.
First down, the game's over. Can Mahomes do it? Got the P-Ryan. P-Ryan makes the move around Bernard, and that will clinch it.
Mahomes with the dagger through the heart.
Yes, sir. 7 in a row. 7 in a row AFC Championship games. And now 3 in a row Super Bowls they will be heading back to for the Kansas City Chiefs. 5 Super Bowls in 6 years. It is a dynasty. It is the greatest dynastic run over 6 years we've seen. They are the first team ever to win back-to-back Super Bowls, and in the 3rd year going for the three-peat to even make the Super Bowl. So it is already the greatest 3-year run of any team in NFL history. 2 Super Bowls, and then the next year going back to the Super Bowl. There was no doubting. There was no debating. You can go kick rocks. You can go pound sand. You can go play in traffic. If you want to try to downgrade anything or diminish anything that the Chiefs have accomplished over these now 7 years with Patrick Mahomes as a starter, already the second most quarterback wins in the postseason of all time is Patrick Mahomes. The only person he trails is Tom Brady, and he's going for Super Bowl number 4 in less than 2 weeks against the Eagles, and the Chiefs are going for the three-peat. 913-381-0810. We'll open up the phone lines first couple of hours. Field Yates joins us at noon. We'll talk with Mick Schaefer. He was out there at the postgame last night at Arrowhead with KSHB 41. We'll hang out with him in the 1 o'clock hour, get his thoughts on what he saw and heard there after the game was over as he was out on the field and doing interviews and things like that. So we'll talk with Mick Schaefer. Learn funniest best. I kind of feel like everybody's got some sort of the same best from the weekend. Who knows? We learned a lot from the weekend, and there were probably some funny things that happened over the weekend. Again, 913-381-0810, 913-912-4810. Let's talk about this game. Sterling, welcome,
Yes.
brother. How was your Sunday?
Pretty good,
Was it?
relaxing. Yeah.
No nerves whatsoever,
no
just chill.
nerves, just chilled. Yeah, I was nervous when I didn't even drink.
Well, that is a nervous
I was like,
Sterling.
it was like no bourbon, no beers, just let's settle in here.
Yeah.
Let's just vibe here. Let's just try and feel this thing out. What's funny is I say this all the time. I don't get nervous before Chiefs games. I don't get nervous watching Chiefs games in this current Patrick Mahomes era because they find ways to win. Why would I get nervous? It's like a turbulence. Why would I get nervous? We know the plane's going to land. We know it's going to be okay. We know that Patrick and this Chiefs, they're going to land the plane.
23 out of 24 times.
Unless you're playing Buffalo. For some reason, the Bills always make me nervous. I get it, man. I understand the part of they're 0-3 previously in the playoffs against Patrick and the Chiefs, but they always seemingly play KC, at least the last now 2 times, very, very, very close.
No, they have been amazing playoff games. They've been amazing regular season games.
And I think Josh Allen's the only quarterback who can go close to toe-to-toe when he's playing at that level with Patrick. And so my nervous factor for this game was through the roof. Spagnuolo's just a madman. Just a madman. But as far as how my Sunday went, Jason, it was bleeping awesome.
Yeah. The score was 29-29, and we talk about winning plays, winning margins, players that come through in crucial moments. When the score was tied 29-29, the Chiefs got the ball. They went 8 plays, 51 yards, kicked a field goal.
How pure was that field goal, by the way?
It's pretty good. Pretty good. Right down the middle. 32-29, the Bills get the ball, and they go 6 plays, 17 yards, and turn it over on downs. That's the difference. One player, been there, done that before, came through in the most crucial moments, came through a lot during the game. I mean, we can start to get into all of the different numbers that show this was one of the greatest performances of Patrick Mahomes' career, and they needed every ounce of it. I mean, it's what Teddy Bruschi said last Monday at this time when we were talking about people complaining about a couple of roughing the passer and an unnecessary roughness call last week after they beat the Texans. And Teddy Bruschi said, the Chiefs know how to win the game they're in, not the game they were planning on being in, right? Not just the game they were preparing for. They know how to win the game they're in. The Bills scored 29 points. The Chiefs haven't scored more than 30 all year until they needed to score more than 30 all year. The Bills beat the Chiefs 29-20 earlier in the year, right? They got 29 points then. They got 29 points last night. And
you weren't playing the regular season Chiefs.
Right. Or I guess it was 30-21, not 29-20. So 30-21. So they got 29 points and they got 30 points. The Chiefs had to score, as it turns out, 30 or more points in this game. And they went and did that. It was not perfect. There were a couple of things that didn't go in their favor. It felt like they had full grasp of the game and then let it slip through their hands when it was 7-3. And the Bills could not stop the Chiefs. They were averaging almost 9 yards per play, hadn't faced a third down, and they were down 10-7. 7-3, feeling like it's going to be 14-3, and now the Bills aren't going to be able to use James Cook and Ray Davis and Johnston and bring in Anderson, the 7th offensive lineman or 6th offensive lineman, 7 different guys, whatever.
No idea how to line up.
Right, exactly. Do I report? And then Keon Coleman then covers him up on another play. Yeah. So those are the small details that go into a game, go into the AFC Championship game. If you're in there that often, how can you forget to report? If he's in there, how do you know as a wide receiver that you're how do you not know that you're not supposed to be on the line of scrimmage there covering him up, all of that stuff. And the Chiefs found a way to win yet again, even when they faced adversity that was self-inflicted. The Buffalo Bills didn't cause that turnover.
Yeah.
The Chiefs, it was a giveaway. It wasn't a takeaway. It was a giveaway. It was a mesh point. Mahomes said after the game he held it there just a little too long, put the running back in a tough situation. Looked like Pacheco's glove stuck as the ball was coming out. The glove, hit the ball a little bit, which knocked it out. There were plenty of other mesh point reads for Patrick Mahomes that he kept and turned into positive plays. It was that one that did not. They had a chance to completely control the game, and then they were down 10-7. Some teams could have folded. That was we've talked about this so many times, like the basketball version of you're playing so awesome you just can't make a shot. How are you only up by 4 and you have dominated this game and then another team goes on a run? It's like, how are you dominating this game and yet somehow you're trailing 10-7? This doesn't seem like it is. It should be the case. Like you get them 3 and out, you go right down the field and score. Then they go and kick a field goal. You go right down the field and then fumble. And then they go score a touchdown. And you're like, how in the world is this going on? And then they come out of halftime and they don't get the job done. And then Buffalo goes and scores. They score right before half. And it's like, wow, they're going to double up. And Buffalo goes and scores. And they had opportunities to put a stranglehold. So you credit the Buffalo Bills for coming through when they had to come through. But ultimately, in a 60-minute game, when it was coming down to a couple plays here or there, and that was going to be the difference in the game, the Chiefs were the ones making them. And the Chiefs made enough. They were trailing in this game 22-21. And they outscore them, 11-7 the rest of the way with those 2 possessions? and the Bills don't get anything on that final drive, and then the Chiefs run the clock out by passing the ball. I mean, it's just you put the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands, and it was as close to a perfect game as you can have from a quarterback in the postseason. Patrick Mahomes was in the 99th percentile in success rate on dropbacks. There have been 4 games this entire year from a quarterback that is ranked that high. It's the highest of his career. 99th percentile. The Kansas City Chiefs, 59% of their passes resulted in first downs, which is the 99th percentile in that game. Patrick Mahomes now has, in playoffs or AFC championship games, NFC championship games, just conference championship games and Super Bowls, if you look at QBR of all time, Patrick Mahomes now has 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Number 5 is Brock Purdy last year against the Philadelphia Eagles. Number 7 was Jaden Daniels yesterday.
Sure.
Patrick Mahomes is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 in QBR in AFC championship and Super Bowls. That includes NFC with their championships as well. And the only 2 that show up in the top 7 there are NFC quarterbacks in Brock Purdy and Jaden Daniels. The rest are Patrick Mahomes.
Surprised Josh Allen wasn't there in the 13-second game.
He was pretty awesome, but not there in the 13-second game.
Yeah.
Maybe he was number 8 or 9.
Yeah.
He was pretty phenomenal. But it also is like, you know, the stat that's going around where teams in the playoffs are like 65-6 when they score 4 touchdowns with no turnovers. 2 of those 6 losses are the Bills, 13-second game, and then yesterday to the Chiefs, because the Chiefs have had to play such perfect football at times. They are the first team this postseason to lose the turnover battle and win the game. Every other team. The Bills fumbled the ball 4 times. The Chiefs fumbled it once. The Bills recovered every single fumble. We had a conversation last week about the Bills and the fumble luck that they have had, that they should not be recovered. They recovered 11 of 13 fumbles since the Chiefs game. There have been 13 fumbles over that time frame, and they recovered 11 of them. There have now been 18 fumbles since the Chiefs game in Week 11, and the Buffalo Bills have recovered 16 of them. They went 5 for 5 in the game yesterday. They went 4 of 6 on 4th down. Both teams had 4 scoring drives. Or 5 scoring drives.
Yeah.
Both teams had 4 touchdowns and a field goal. And yet, somehow, the Chiefs have 3 more points because the 2-point conversions that happened and Sean McDermott going for 2, not getting it, going for 2, not getting it, the Chiefs going for 2 and getting it, and the maybe most beautiful result of this game, and I'm never going to get over this fact, and I may talk about this until I'm blue in the face. I may talk about it all next week at the Super Bowl. We may bring it up with every single person that comes on the air. The fact that the Chiefs were +3 in 2-point conversions, and the 2-point conversion started because the Chiefs got a penalty. Because they called Justin Reed for offsides.
Yeah.
The Chiefs got a penalty. They got penalized, which was that everybody's bitching about that they don't get penalized. They got penalized, and they won maybe because of it. Because they got penalized. In the face for everybody. Don Van Natta just crying in his Cheerios. So many people out there just crying in their oatmeal this morning. I mean, maybe not going to sleep because their eyes have been so watery from crying all night long. The Chiefs were +3 in 2-point conversions. They won by 3. Both teams had 5 scoring drives, 4 touchdowns, and 1 field goal. And the reason the Chiefs were +3 was because it started with a Chiefs penalty. He wasn't offsides. But they still were called for the penalty, and Justin Reed.
They didn't have to accept it. They could have taken the field goal or the extra point.
No. You got to go and they're gonna get that. The
yard.
All they got to do is tush push or Josh Allen push or whatever they want to call it. And the Chiefs were awesome at that last night. The Chiefs in the next gen stats going back to 2016 are the only team in the entire next gen stats era to have 3 QB sneak stuffs in one game. They're the only team that has ever done that going back to 2016 under next-gen stats.
I say build the statue for Spags now.
I mean,
he is going to be the first DC into the Hall of Fame, and it shouldn't be close. Spagnuolo, and not just for obviously what he did with the Giants as well. Spags is just a mastermind of, because Josh Allen, you don't blitz. It's like Patrick. You don't blitz Patrick. You don't blitz Josh. They're too good. Josh Allen was 1 of 8 for 4 yards passing when under pressure. You don't blitz him until you bring up these exotic blitzes that he has not seen before, and then you confuse him. So for me, I thought Spagnuolo, to me, it came out of situational football. You're talking 2-point conversions. You're right, because it was 5-5. Scoring drives, 4 touchdowns apiece, 1 field goal apiece. But it was situational football. It was understanding. It was understanding that Josh Allen QB sneaks to the left.
Yeah. He kept doing it over and over again. It
was Patrick finding Justin Watson in the back of the end zone.
Yes.
It was situational football. It was 4th and 5, game on the line. Spags sends the most exotic blitz that you're ever going to see. Great play by Allen, by the way. I mean, you can still tip your cap.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of those plays, like that Mac Hollins touchdown, nothing you can do there.
It's a dime.
Nothing Trent
McDuffie. By Deion
Dawkins. I get it, but there's nothing Trent McDuffie could have done.
I'm joking.
There's nothing.
He could have grown 4 inches.
That's my point. Like sometimes great players, James Cook finding a way to score on that touchdown.
Oh my goodness, yeah,
insane. Sometimes you tip your cap, but situational football. The Bills were 5 of 14 on 3rd down. The Chiefs were 5 of 9. Over 50%.
3rd down.
3rd down. Sorry.
Yep.
Over 50% versus nearly 33%.
Right. That's why they were 4 of 6 on 4th down.
And you see 4 of 6, you think, wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Until you realize that means you've been stopped twice.
Yep.
That's turnover on downs twice.
And twice, so to show you how close this game was to not being that close, when we're talking about the Chiefs potentially taking a 14-3 lead, the Buffalo Bills converted 2 different 7-point plays. 4th down and goal.
Yeah.
It's a 7-point play. Well, it ended up one of them being a 6-point play.
Yeah.
4th down and goal. 6, 7, or 8-point play. They got both of them.
Mm-hmm.
They got both. You get either stop there. And Justin Reed and Nick Bolton were right there. And like you talked about, James Cook, hell of a play by him. They got those touchdowns on 4th down by half a yard, whatever it might be. Credit them for coming through in that situation, but that's the danger and the tightrope the Bills were walking all night long. The Chiefs, it felt like if they don't shoot themselves in the foot, they were doing whatever they wanted offensively. I mean, they came out and one of the punts was a 3rd and 15, and it should have been a 3rd and 5 because of the offsides that caused the false start.
Yeah.
It turned out that's a 10-yard difference of a penalty.
That was a weird.
Yeah, nobody cares about that, though.
Yeah, that was a weird
Chiefs ended up
call.
punting. Buffalo Bills score off that. It would have been 3rd and 5 instead of 3rd and 15, but nobody cares about that. That wasn't a game-changing play. That wasn't a difference. That wasn't a crucial point in the game, so that's not discussed at all. If it was flipped, it would be discussed a lot, but we know that. For the haters, and the Chiefs move on, and no matter what they can say, they can talk about luck, they can talk about good fortune, they can talk about the refs, they can talk about one-score games, they can call them frauds, they can say they can't score more than 30, but all of the things they're saying and talking about are the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to be talking about. The Chiefs heading back to the Super Bowl yet again. This team wins close games. Let's hear from Patrick Mahomes. This is clip number 2 from Patrick Mahomes talking about how they've been able to all year long and going into last year. It is now 17 straight victories in one-score games. 17 consecutive wins in one-score games. Here's Patrick Mahomes weighing in on that.
It's because it's everybody. It's not just one side of the football. I mean, if you look today, I mean, obviously I think the offense played well, but we didn't score that touchdown there at the end. And the defense stopped Josh, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, in a critical situation to give us a chance to run the timeout. And so it takes everybody, and we've done it so many different ways now that we just have full trust. And the coaches have trust in the players trust in the coaches, and we go out there and execute our job. And when you've done it over and over again, it becomes habit. And, I mean, obviously we would want to win by more, but I think the regular season, winning all those close games, has prepared us for moments like today.
Let's hear from Andy Reid now. This is clip number 1 of Andy Reid when he weighs in on the question about, you guys 17 consecutive one-score games. How are you able to find ways to win these close games that come down to a play or two?
This came right down to an inch, literally. I mean, that's what the stop was. And so it was back and forth. It was going to be back and forth. Whoever had the ball last was probably going to come out on the, in the lead, so in the win. But I'm proud of our guys battling like they battled. I mean, Pat Mahomes was phenomenal. Travis Kelce, their leadership, Chris Jones. I can just go through all these guys. I mean, they didn't waver at all, and that's how they've been. I mean, you know that from training camp. I mean, they've got this personality where they know how to bear down. They know when to have fun, but they also know when to bear down.
All year long, going back to training camp, I mean, it's what they do. They find ways to win these games. They consistently do it, and they've done it now 17 consecutive games in a row in which they have won one-score games. Let's hear real quick before we take a break and get into phone lines. Let's hear from Chris Jones. This is clip number 4 for Chris Jones. Dylan, how this team continues to come away with winning these close games.
I think it prepared us for close game situations better. You look at the games we had, then we had like 6 or 7 games where it was one possession. We could continue to build off of that throughout the year. And, these games are very familiar with us. We're used to being in these type of situations. So we feel very calm. We feel very at peace with what we're running, the speed of it, the pace of it, and the play calling.
Yeah, and the play calling, and they got it done. And we've talked about a lot of different parts of this game so far, and we will get into about a million other things that we have yet to address and discuss as the Chiefs are heading back to the Super Bowl. It is another rematch in the Super Bowl as the Chiefs will take on the Philadelphia Eagles and see if they can get Super Bowl win number 4 for this team with Patrick Mahomes in the 7 years that he has been a starter. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, get in some texts, get in some calls. More right after this. Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels heading up until 2 o'clock. Coming up at noon, Field Yates. About 12:30, we'll hear from Andy Reid. 1 o'clock, we'll hear from Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 Sports Director. We'll hear from the different players in the locker room post-game throughout the show. 913-381-1010. You know what? Let's bring in Jerry to the conversation as we take your phone calls up until noon. Chiefs heading back to yet another Super Bowl, 3 straight for the Chiefs. Jerry, what's on your mind? Go right ahead, sir.
Oh, a couple different things. I hope you guys don't get offended by this, but I hope you did a little dance, made a little love, and got down last night. All of you. I only care about 2 of those things.
I am not offended, sir. I am not offended.
Why would it be offended?
No, I wanted to make a war, but I decided not to, so I'll play nice. What's really kind of cool is I took into account what people were saying about the referee. His name is Clute. Is that right?
Cletus.
Cletus. Okay. I was calling him Clute, or that's what I was taught. But anyway, I heard that he had a bias against the home teams, but I kind of said something to Petro last week that I thought Chiefs needed to play a mistake-free game, but they didn't really need to play a mistake-free game. They just needed to play a clean game, if that makes sense. That's a lot better. And you pointed out the mistake, or whatever they thought was a mistake from Justin Reed, turned out to be really good for us. That was awesome. Last week, Samaje Perine was a shining star for me right off the bat. And then this week, I couldn't have been more happy to see him catch that last pass. That was, to see the smile on his face, just that made the whole night for me. I thought that was awesome. I never once thought that they were going to lose the game, and I did notice Josh Allen getting into panic mode in the last drive. I'll go ahead and listen off the air, but I noticed those things. I hadn't heard anybody talk about them, but did you notice Josh Allen in panic mode at all?
Well, Jerry, I appreciate the phone call. I thought the start of the game, Josh Allen was pretty rattled.
Yeah, agreed.
He almost threw 2 interceptions. He overthrew. He didn't look comfortable in the game, and so Chiefs go down and score after that. I think Josh Allen, the second drive, getting some things to go in their favor, making some plays. They go and eventually kick a field goal. I think that settled him down because then he played what looked like Josh Allen football the rest of the way. But I think the first drive, he looked pretty rattled and knew the enormity of the moment while he was out there.
Which is also why I was actually – they do this either way, but when the Chiefs deferred, I loved that because, one, the defense is ready to go. The defense is absolutely stoked in that situation. You have the flyover. You're off the national anthem, and Chris Jones has tears rolling down his face. You're just ready.
Trey Smith had the tears, too.
The tears. Yeah. You heard, is it Wilson sing the national anthem, and it was just so emotional. If you're a defensive player, you just feel that, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you're a player, you feel that. But you want the defense to go out and play with that emotion because at times the offense will, and they'll do what Josh Allen did. You're too hyped up. You're ready to go, and next thing you know, you're punting the football.
Yep.
Next thing you know, you overthrew a guy or two because you're amped. It works more for defense than I think offense. So they would have done it either way. But I love that the Chiefs deferred and had the defense go out first. I did think Josh Allen calmed down. If you're referring to that final drive or so, Jerry, as far as panic, he did have that one overthrow. I don't know if that was a throwaway type of situation or what that final drive.
When he threw it just into nowhere?
Yeah, into nowhere.
I think he did that on purpose.
I did too. So that's why I was like, I don't know if that was panic mode. I don't think he did because that final drive, the final play, with everything bearing down on him, the fact he was able to identify where the blitz was coming from and throw it to where at least a guy was going to be. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He did a great job there.
I will say that after the game was over, the post game from Josh Allen, because while he was scrambling, he did find Dalton Kincaid and threw it up there and gave him a chance. But Josh Allen saying they disguised it, coverage slid or the protection slid left.
Yeah. And they were blocking no one on the left side.
Or on the left side of the Chiefs defense, but the right side of the offensive line, the protection slid to the left for some reason.
Yep.
And Reed and McDuffie both come through unblocked because the right guard for some reason doubles with the center and lets Reed go through. And then McDuffie's unblocked, and then Karlaftis also wins on the edge.
Yeah.
And guess what Karlaftis didn't do? You know what he didn't do to Josh Allen? He didn't hit him and rough him and throw him down to the ground. Allen throws the ball. Karlaftis hits him in the chest and then brings his hands back as Josh Allen is falling to the ground.
Yep.
He didn't wrap him up and fall on him, right? He didn't hit him low. He didn't go head first. But hey, Hembo and Adam Schefter say the Chiefs haven't been called for roughing the passer in these last 9 games they have played. Well, just show me the ones that should be called for roughing the passer, because maybe they're just smarter than Will Anderson, who says, we knew we had to battle the refs all week, and then he went head high.
Yeah.
That's just stupid. George Karlaftis could have wrapped his arms around Josh Allen and drove him into the ground. But he didn't. He hit him, knocked him to the ground while holding his hands up in the air.
Yeah.
That's what a smart player does in the moment, understanding this is 4th down and 5. The only chance they have is if I get a stupid penalty. It ain't about me hitting Josh Allen hard. I've already done my job by pressuring him to make him throw a floater up there. Now I just have to do my job to not be dumb. And he wasn't.
Don't have any dumbassery.
Right. And Kincaid should have caught the ball.
It was a tough catch. That's one where you're going
an easy
deep.
catch.
You have to come back. You're diving.
Not an easy catch.
Would have been a phenomenal catch.
NFL players should catch that ball. But they were put in that position in Spags with a diabolical blitz where Josh Allen didn't read it correctly.
Which is
he
why
thought it was coming from a different place. He thought they were showing it and they weren't going to bring it.
It's why I keep saying Spags with the rings also has the ability to where he can send that blitz. Other DCs are too scared to, because if that gets completed after the game, you might be fired.
Yeah.
How many questions do you have to answer? Spags goes, if that ball gets completed, Spags holds up his he can't turn doorknobs because the amount of rings he has. He goes, I got these rings by doing that exact same thing, right? So Spags has a little more leeway when it comes to these diabolical blitzes because he's had the success to back it up. I don't think other DCs have the stones to call that exact same blitz.
913-381-0810. Let's bring in Clinton to the conversation. Clinton, go right ahead. What's on your mind, sir?
So we have a new name for a new defensive package called the Diabolical Blitz.
I love it. I love it.
Josh Allen was picking those guys apart. And I kept saying during the whole game, they got to get to him. They got to get to him. And he just, after the first drive, which I think was an overthrow, he just had the balls that he was, he had the confidence that he was going to pick those guys apart. And to his credit, he has done what Patrick Mahomes has done in terms of the personnel that the Bills have had all year.
Yeah.
He's made those guys 10 times better, because there's no way that they should have won all those games and ended up in the AFC conference game. That's not why I called. I've been going out to that stadium since 78 was my first game. Went out to see the Steelers play with the Bradshaw and Franco Harris and all those guys as a little boy. Been a Chiefs fan for years. Fell off a few years. Was even out there for Dan Fouts' last game with a buddy of mine. We caught one football on one end of the field and a football at the other end zone. We need to start. That goes back. We need to start a campaign. Them getting to the Super Bowl 3 years in a row, winning 2 years in a row is phenomenal. If we win, I'm happy. If not, I'm still happy. This is what I want to see. It's a damn shame that we don't have a new stadium. We don't have a new stadium. We got to have a new stadium. We got to have a new stadium. That's what we need to push for. After the Super Bowl is over, let's put our emphasis on getting a new stadium. Kansas side, I'm okay with that. Missouri side, I'm perfectly happy with that. That's what I want to see. These guys deserve a new stadium. Let's get a new stadium going.
Clinton, I appreciate the phone call, man. We'll have plenty of time to talk about that as the summer gets here.
I only
want
it if you get a dome.
Yeah.
Then you can host a Super Bowl and all that stuff.
Well, we'll get into that as time permits over the summer. Plenty of time to get into that, though. But,
they got a dome.
To his first part about Josh Allen, I mean, nothing but respect for Josh Allen. I said last week, I whispered it, so only you two heard. Nobody else heard it, but I whispered it and said, look, if the Chiefs don't win, I'm fine with Josh Allen, getting one. I hope in his career he gets one.
He's deserving.
I think he is the second best quarterback in the NFL.
If he was in the NFC, he would have played in 3 Super Bowls by now.
You're right.
Played, maybe not one, he would have played in probably
right,
3 Super Bowls
and he's
by
played
now.
so well in these games against the Chiefs. He has not been the reason why they have lost games. He's not, turning the ball over, fumbling, throwing interceptions, doing some stupid things. I mean, he almost threw an interception a couple times in that first drive, but then calmed down and played good football.
Josh Allen has 7 playoff wins.
Yeah.
7. He's 7-6. He's over 500. He's never played in a Super Bowl.
I think they're the first team to win a playoff game 5 straight years and not go to a Super Bowl. The Bills. There were so many stats last night.
Yeah,
Either
I
way,
know.
if they're not the first, they're one of like a few that have done that. 913-381-0810. Rodney next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Rodney, go right ahead, man. What's on your mind?
Hey, Jason, thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
All season, I've been down Matt Nagy's throat. I tried to start a GoFundMe page to get him out of Kansas City to pay for his plane ticket. I've been very, very loud, even when I wrote my articles for Red Kingdom Media on Substacks. I put them on my milk carton alert. I mean, I was very loud to get him out of Kansas City, hoping he would get a head coaching job so he can get out of Kansas City. But as loud as I was to get him out, I have to be loud to say I'm sorry. I think when you look at the film, I think he called a perfect game. He designed and game planned a perfect offensive game. I think anything that went wrong, that was all on execution. The fumble, that's just execution. Because if you look at the wide view, Mahomes could have literally just skipped to my Lou all the way to the end zone.
Wide open.
Again, with that being said, who is looking for Patrick Mahomes to run a quarterback design run? He tucked that ball. He was not passing. Nobody was out for a pass pattern. He tucked it and run. Again, how many seasons since he dislocated his knee? And Andy Reid said, nope, no more quarterback sneak. And all of a sudden, here comes not one, not two, but several quarterback design runs. I think that was a Gunt Richard call. I think he might have read one of my articles when I put him on my milk carton alert. But I have to say, I am sorry. That was the perfect offensive game plan. And Shannon Sharp said it best about Steve Spagnuolo. When Spag is pressured, the game plan is out the window. He's unleashing the dogs. He's asking everyone, what gap you want, doesn't matter. Go for it. Surprise me. I don't care. We're going all out. Who in today's NFL got the cojones to do a zero-cover blitz? You said it best, Jason. No defensive coordinator in the NFL from now, I say, to 10 years would never have the cojones to do that, especially not with these quarterbacks in the league now. You would get picked apart. But Spag said, hold my beer and look at my rings while they shine in the lights. I'm doing it not once, not twice, until I sit there and feel like my guys are tired. And to hear people here, because I'm in North Carolina, to hear people sit here and say, well, the Chiefs got too much firepower. I mean, look at that guy, Noah Gray and P. Ron, and look at the guy on the kickoff return. Man, that's a lot of firepower. I'm like, those guys are like, the guy on that kickoff, that punt return, he came off the practice squad.
Yeah. Yep.
The guy who caught that contested catch, the league said he was too small.
Too small. It's 165. He was gonna if the game was too windy, Rodney, he was gonna get blown away.
Exactly.
I remember somebody saying that after the draft.
So and it seemed like to me he could catch a contested pass, but not a wide open deep ball. But that's a whole other story.
Once he gets his feet in, watch out. Once he gets those 2 feet in, watch out, because that's back-to-back weeks that he's caught a contested pass. The Houston Texans down the left sideline, and then that one down the right sideline.
You got to press him for him to catch the ball. Can't be wide open. If you got to press me now, then I'm gonna catch the ball over. But this was perfect. The run plays, everything down to the final kneel down. To me, and I'm very critiqued over Nagy. Everybody can see my tweets. I am extremely critiqued over what Nagy doing. This was 10 out of 10. The perfect offensive game plan, the perfect play calling. If you can get away with calling the same plays 20 times and doing so many different variations of it, like, hey, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Nope.
Just keep going. But I wanted to hear your point on that. Thank you.
Hey, Rodney, I appreciate it, man. I thought the Chiefs had the Buffalo Bills defense in a spin cycle throughout most of that game. The plays they were running, getting guys open. I mean, finding ways. And the Bills kept going to man-to-man. The Bills kept staying in man-to-man. I didn't know if they would once Benford went out of the game, having already lost Taylor Rapp. And once Benford went out of the game, it was like Patrick Mahomes said, where's number 5? Okay, we're going there. Number 5 is guarding Xavier Worthy. I will throw it to Xavier Worthy. Number 5 is on DeAndre Hopkins. Back shoulder to DeAndre Hopkins and pick up a first down. It was like as soon as Elam was in the game, they were attacking that. But it wasn't just like, okay, we're going to go after number 5 regardless. It was the design plays to Xavier Worthy, and it was 2 different times with the Buffalo Bills' attention paid to Kelsey and Worthy and Hollywood that Juju gets wide open.
Yeah.
And by the way, on those plays, protection had to hold up. How many times were we talking about Patrick Mahomes running for his life in this game? How many times were we talking about Gregory Rousseau or Von Miller?
Oh, no.
There was one time, and that was Phillips, that picked up Caliendo and threw him into Mahomes after that Worthy play.
Legitimately had 0 feet on the ground.
Yeah.
He
that
was just in the air.
That was just a grown man. That was just a bear moving a deer at that point. And Caliendo ain't some small dude either.
No.
That was just Phillips.
That was impressive.
We saw Chris Jones make a play in the divisional round last year against Dawkins, walk him back into Josh Allen and hit him when the receiver was open in the end zone, and they end up having to settle for the field goal. We've seen that happen. And Caliendo played a fine game. Phillips just said, not on my watch on this particular play. On that 1st and goal from the 10, they end up settling for the field goal. That's the one time I can remember, like, oh my God, like this is, it was that quick. Because against the Bills in Buffalo, when Wanya Morris was the left tackle, like they were giving up pressures really quickly to Rousseau. Like, how many times did we talk about Tooney or Jawan Taylor in this game?
I thought Jawan Taylor had maybe his best game in a Chiefs uniform. Not just in pass protection, but that first touchdown that Kareem Hunt had.
Yeah.
And if you watch that pull to the left to open up that hole, you don't see any right tackles
and Trey Smith,
in the NFL
over there as well.
Yeah, but for a right tackle to get over there that quickly and open up that hole was just insane. So you see the athleticism and why the Chiefs were so enamored by Juwan. I don't know what it is, but it's almost like playoff Frank Clark. Where I don't love making the comparison, but it's almost like regular season, we're sitting here going, the contract. And then the playoffs roll around, and they play their best football. And then all of a sudden, right now, we all forget about the contract, myself included.
Playoff Frank Clark, playoff MVS, playoff Jawan Taylor.
It's a real thing right now, man.
And this team, it's not just Mahomes and Kelsey and Chris Jones that step up their game when you have to have it. It's the entire culture of the team. That's what gets lost on people when they just simply have the loser's cramp and cry about a play here or there or a call here or there that benefited the Chiefs or didn't benefit the team they were rooting for that week, whoever the Chiefs were playing. That's the ultimate thing. It's not that it benefited the Chiefs, it's that it didn't go the way of the team they were emotionally invested in that week, which, as we know, the emotional investment from the rest of the country is whoever the Chiefs are playing. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. Playoff games.
Playoffs?
Playoff games with a quarterback that has 0.5 EPA per play. So adding a half a point for every single play in the game for a quarterback. And by the way, Patrick Mahomes ended up with 20 expected points added to Josh Allen's 6 last night in that game. Again, he played almost a perfect game. The only miscue was the mesh point. That was the only thing where you're like, wow, I mean, he kind of messed up. Well, taking the sack to Milano that sort of knocked him out of field goal range, that was rough. But
great.
you live with Mahomes.
There was 3 mistakes, I think.
Yeah, but you live with Mahomes on that one.
100%.
So if he slips by,
worthy throw in the fourth quarter, late in the game when he spiked it, that final drive.
Oh yeah. But at that point, it was second and 20. It was second and goal from the 20 because they had already got Caliendo had already been picked up and put in Mahomes' lap.
This was the one I'm talking about to ice the game. Didn't matter because they got P. Ryan for the first down, all that stuff. I think Xavier Worthy.
The quick throw outside
that he spiked.
Yeah, that was second and goal after the after the sack. Yeah,
I could be wrong.
Because then it brought up third and goal. But yeah, that was the play right after the sack. They tried to get a little wide receiver screen out to Xavier Worthy.
Yes, you're correct.
But it was because the 2 times they threw to ice the game was to Pacheco and P. Ryan.
Yeah, you're correct.
Cool, thanks. But yeah, that wasn't a great throw. But again, it was second and goal from the 20-yard line.
My point is, when you're my point to that was saying that's how good he was.
Yeah, that
was that we're like, wow, that's the one that stood out.
Wow, what happened on that throw there?
That's my point.
Yeah,
that's how
point.
good Xavier Worthy, or Patrick Mahomes and Xavier Worthy. That's how good Patrick Mahomes was in this game.
It's like damning with faint praise, but you're praising with faint criticism. So to a degree, it's like
the thing that kept you from being
opposite of that.
Literally perfect.
Yeah, but a 0.5 expected points added per game. Okay,
per play.
Yeah. 0.5 expected points added per play. Patrick Mahomes had another game in the postseason like that. This is the 7th time Patrick Mahomes has had a postseason. Do you see the stat?
Yeah.
7th time Patrick Mahomes has had a postseason game with at least 0.5 expected points added per play.
Dylan, have you seen this one yet? Do you want to take a guess at
the number of games as the next closest quarterback? So postseason career, expected points added per play being 0.5 or better. So every 2 plays, Mahomes added 1 point of expected points added. So this is his 7th game in the postseason in his career. Do you want to guess a number as who? Not even, you don't even have to tell me who, but the number of who the of the closest for the most games in postseason history.
2 games of
Very
that?
close. 3.
Wow.
Tom Brady, Josh Allen, Peyton Manning, Kurt Warner, and Russell Wilson all have 3 games like that. Patrick Mahomes just finished off his 7th game like that in the postseason.
Shocking that Tom's so low, and shocking that Josh is tied at second with 3 and yet to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It also shows you just how dominant Patrick is because that is such a high number. Think of how good Tom Brady's been in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Think of how amazing and some of those incredible plays and games that he's had. 3. Patrick already has 7.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Let's bring in Mark to the conversation. 913-381-0810. Mark, go right ahead. What's on your mind, sir?
Yes, sir. I was fortunate enough to be at the game last night at Arrowhead.
I'm jealous.
And I heard none of the Bills players and none of the many Bills fans that I befriended at the game complain about officiating. But when I look at the comments on every article, oh, the refs, had it in. What the hell? Why can't people acknowledge greatness?
I mean, it's a great question. Was it Nate Burleson last night on CBS after the game was over that was like, look, people can hate all they want, but we're watching greatness. You should be lucky that you're alive to witness greatness. I hated the Bulls in the 90s. Freaking hated them. Rooted against them every single game. Every game in the postseason. But I'm glad I lived through it to know what it was like, that I don't have to be told or explained of how amazing those Bulls runs were. That was Nate Burleson's point.
Exactly. And that's what we're witnessing now. With Andy Reid and Spags and Patrick and Travis and Chris, but it's all 22, man. All
Yes.
22 make a difference every time.
Yep. No doubt. Hey, Mark, I appreciate the phone call, man. Happy for you. You got to go out there, man. I'm jealous. I wish I'd have been there, man. Appreciate you, brother. 913. Absolutely, you too. 913-388-10-810.
Well,
and by the way, no Bills players were bitching about the refs last night.
Well, I think that was to his point. I think he was giving credit to the Bills players and the
and
fans.
the fans he was around.
The fans, because I have not heard hardly any Bills fans complain. There's been
a couple on Twitter, but
there's always going to be a couple.
Yes,
but most of it has been tipping your cap and saying the Chiefs are just that good, which is why I like this rivalry with Buffalo.
Me too.
There's a mutual respect between these two organizations
and the Chiefs
teams.
players last night saying, Trey Smith, nothing but the utmost respect for the Buffalo Bills. That is a damn fine team. They play the game the right way. I respect those players on that side of the field.
Yeah.
Chris Jones saying the same thing about the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen, the first thing he says when at his press conference last night said, to be the champs, you got to beat the champs, and we haven't done it yet. Not, I had the first down. I got the first down, but we got to play the refs around here.
Yeah.
Everybody knew that it was us versus everybody. We all said it's us versus, and when I say everybody, I mean everybody. Nothing like that from the Bills or their players. Kareem Hunt paid 24. So, hey, I'm in the profit right there. So if any of them score, then, you're going to make a profit. If they don't, well, then you lost $8.
Just math, baby.
I'm a penny slot player, okay? All right, I ain't putting $10 on first touchdown scores. I ain't rolling like that, okay?
Spags would put $10,000. He's the house.
All
of it.
Spags would put $10,000 on the number 32 in roulette. Why not? Bring it. By the way, the number 32, pretty damn good against those quarterback sneaks. And on that last one on 4th and 1 was pretty stout. If Nick Bolton falls back a half a foot, Josh Allen definitely picks it up. But he got there and didn't freaking move. He was a tank when he got there and made sure Josh Allen didn't go anywhere.
Yep.
So, yeah, and a lot of people on that. So just 32 just popped into my head, and I remember his play on that 4th down and 1. But a lot of guys. And by the way, the discipline to not jump when they were trying to draw him off sides on the hard count.
Yep.
And then be ready to go when they actually snap the ball to get the stop. That's, impressive. Can't even begin to describe what that play was for the Chiefs. People can bitch about whether Josh Allen got there or not, but them bitching about it is ignoring what the Chiefs were able to accomplish on 4th and those third and short sneaks from Josh Allen. The 4th and 1 sneak, Josh Allen fumbled the football. He fumbled the football twice and recovered it. Actually, you know what? He fumbled 3 times and recovered all 3 of his fumbles. The snap that he fumbled fell on it.
Mike Dana
knocking the ball out.
And then the jump
and
over
reach it. While Mike Dana's pulling, he reaches down with his left hand and just scoops it up like a jerk. Josh Allen doing that. And then when he, jumps over the pile and they knock the ball out, he then at the bottom. Do Chiefs players getting up and pointing the other way? I know that it's just they do it all the time, but they're typically right. Like when there's a number of players that get up and start running and, pointing the other way, they typically know who's got it underneath there. So I was like, oh, my God, we got that right now. They recovered another fumble. It's what they do.
Yeah, people don't bring that up. They have the ref conversation, but not the luck and the way the ball bounces conversation.
Chiefs are the fortunate ones.
Right, but they're ignoring literally all those Bills fumbles that Josh recovered. The one that you're talking about where he's going to the ground and it bounces like a basketball right up to him.
By the way, you mentioned it. Shout out Mike Dana.
Yeah.
That dude played like a freaking man last night.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't mentioned him. I don't know how many people last night on Twitter mentioned him. I didn't.
Yeah.
But some flowers thrown to Mike Dana. That dude was awesome against a fully healthy Buffalo Bills offensive line. Mike Dana was bringing the pressure and bringing the noise. Let's head back to the phone lines, 913-381-0810. Jason next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason, go right ahead. What's on your mind, sir?
Well, that play you just talked about, I was just curious how outside of 2 minutes on a 4th and 1, they reviewed it without a coach's challenge.
Is it because it's a turnover? Like a turnover on downs, does that count as a turnover? Because technically it was short. That was my understanding, but I don't know the exact reason for that, to be honest with you.
I was perplexed. The only thing I could think of was the turnover thing, or if it's because of the new
But it wasn't replay assist though.
Okay,
that was a full on.
I was thinking replay assist.
See, it was. I was thinking that too, but he said the previous play is under review. Replay assist is after conversation with replay assist. Here's where we're putting it. That was a full review, Jason, and it must be because turnover on downs doesn't really count as a turnover in the scorebook because
I went back through
the Bills have no.
season.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I went back through the season and watched some of the games. I have a bad habit of going to the games and coming home and watching them.
Nice, good for you, man.
After I go to the game, and I couldn't see one instance this year where it wasn't a coach's challenge when they came up short on 4th and 1. But the Chiefs get all the calls, right?
That's exactly right. Yes.
And then the other part of that I'd ask is how many times have you seen a team be so successful stopping that tush push that the Chiefs were last night in that game?
Next Gen Stats says never. They have been tracking it. Next Gen Stats era started in 2016, Jason. And the Chiefs are the first team ever to stuff 3 quarterback sneaks on 1 yard or shorter in one game. It's the most in the Next Gen Stats era since 2016.
Oh, I appreciate you taking my call. Thanks for the insight.
Yep, absolutely. Appreciate it, man. 913-381-0810. Dylan, you
to
found
answer
out?
your question, Jason, in 2023 here, the NFL rules provided an automatic replay review in the event of a turnover on downs. The rule was submitted to the competition committee by the Texans and was universally passed. So
Wow. There you go. Nice job, Texans. I actually...
Makes sense.
I mean, here's the thing. It went against the Bills, so I'm pretty sure we need to rule change now. Not if it went against the Chiefs, who cares? Like the Chiefs and Patriots and Tom Brady and Mahomes never touching the ball.
Well, remember, they're still voting on the new if you have a good wild card record, we're going to make sure that you have a home game now.
Yep, that's right.
They conveniently came out as soon as the Minnesota Vikings had to go from L.A. to Arizona, which is weird.
That whole reseeding thing. Nah, the Chiefs and Patriots, Mahomes doesn't touch the ball. What a great game. It would have been nice to do that. Oh, but the 13-second game, Josh Allen doesn't touch the ball. They talked about it last night, too, Nance and Romo. And we were there, Tony. And Josh Allen left the field with 13 seconds to go after throwing a touchdown to give him a 3-point lead and never saw the ball again. And now we've got this rule change with overtime. Oh, yeah, you changed the rules for the Bills. Oh, that's cool. Neat.
I get it. Why they don't, because they don't have enough time.
I'm fine with them changing the rules, but the Chiefs proposed the rule change after the Patriots, and they turned it down.
I wish they would have brought that up, but you're never going to because you don't have enough time. And
they had a full game.
Then I get that, but then you're starting to take a whole lot of time about the rule change. It irritates me that they don't bring up the context behind it.
There's no context,
but
especially with these officials and all that.
Yeah, it's just. And by the way, my main takeaway on that 4th and inches that was stuffed by the Chiefs. Electric defense,
according to the game book.
That was and people with eyes. What I find, I love the people that go, he clearly got it.
Oh my God, that's what.
And I go, you are so hyperbolic right now that you like it's stupid. If you want to say that you think he got it,
right.
or I'll entertain it. My main point though is, it's 4th and inches. Why are you just trying to graze the marker? When the Chiefs had a 4th down, what did they do?
Picked up 4 or 5 yards.
4 or 5 yards, like.
Yeah. You're doing the same thing over and over again.
Yes.
You kept doing the same thing over and over again.
That's why I didn't understand where, like, if you want to be frustrated like Sean McDermott or the OC. That was one of my main points was everyone's yelling about I think he got it. Well, that's not a clear and convincing he got it. Why not have a better play call?
Yeah.
Why not actually make sure you get it? Don't put it in the ref's hands yet.
I'm so
dumbasses.
I'm so glad you brought that up because the amount of people that were in my timeline last night saying he clearly picked up the first down. I'm like, I'm just ignoring you.
Yeah.
If he clearly, because I don't need to reply to every single one of them saying if he clearly picked it up, they would have changed it on replay.
Yes.
He obviously didn't clearly pick it up. I mean, honestly, if we want to play Sean McDermott, hey, by the way, the chains were at the 40.
Yes.
The line to gain was at the actual 40-yard line. Todd Lebo talked about this. The ball was spotted a little bit short of the 50. But what the refs did, and people can complain and bitch all they want, but the refs oftentimes when it's that close will move the ball onto a specific yard line so that they know that's the actual yard line. There's a solid white line to get to.
Sure.
And they put the ball on the 50. Which meant that they had to get to the actual 40. But here's Sean McDermott on the 4th down spot. And if you want to complain about, well, he got there, he didn't get there, he definitely got there. Here's Sean McDermott and his view as to whether or not they picked up the first down. Listen in to when he talks about where the chains and what he thought the first down marker was.
The look we had in the stadium, which you don't know I don't know for sure because they have a mixed look. Feed in the stadium if it's the same feed that the TV had or not. I thought he had it. The line was just short of the line was actually the first down. What it looked like to me when it was sitting next to me with the marker, just inside that white stripe was the first down, and it looked like he got to it. That's all I can say.
Hold on. He didn't say it looked like he got to the 40. He said the marker was just inside the white stripe, and it looked like he got there. Yeah. Well, hold on, Sean. It's not where the marker was. First down was the 40. So even Sean McDermott isn't saying, I think he got to the 40.
Yes.
He's saying, I think the first down marker was short of the 40-yard line, and I think he got the first down. But it wasn't short of the 40. It was at the actual 40 because the previous play and that set of downs started from the actual 50.
What it looked like to me when it was sitting next to me with the marker, just inside that white stripe was the first down, and it looked like he got to it. That's all I can say.
He did get to just inside the white stripe. You're right.
But my point still remains: when you're playing with inches, you're trying to graze the first down marker. Why would you even make it a question? I get it. Things happen. You don't expect to only get but that specific play call after the Chiefs have shown an ability to stop it or at least do a great job against it. I have more of an issue if you're a Bills fan, which I haven't heard Bills fans, again, it's not really Bills fans.
Yeah.
It's random other fans. I've seen more Broncos fans and Raiders fans complain about that than Bills fans. I've seen just a plethora of random fan bases. Bengals fans, I've seen more New England fans complain about it than almost anything else. And
well, that's because it's the Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes thing.
I get that, but it's just one of those situations where I'm like, if you're going to blame anyone, blame McDermott, blame the play call, because it's just a bad play call.
Blame Joe Brady. Blame Josh Allen for the quarterback sneak being
sure,
the same
Joe
thing
Brady,
every time.
Yes, yeah.
You're going off the left guard every time. Like, don't do it every single time. 913-381-0810. The only time they didn't is when he went over the top and he fumbled. Tommy Moe next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Tommy, what's up, brother? How are you?
Doing just fine, gentlemen. Yes, I wanted to come on the air, and over the last couple months, I've been critical of two coaches not named Andy Reid. First being Dave Toub. Dave Toub, this summer he said he would stand on a table to make sure Nico Remigio
He would pound the table. He would pound the table, and Sterling said he found a table, a pounding table, right?
He found a pounding table. Yeah,
and we cut that one. That might be in the bracket of sound later on. I don't know.
Okay, well, the table he pounded in August was probably a cardboard table, and then the table that he stood on, because my sources tell me McCoy was okay to go, and the decision was to stay with Remigio. And that's what Dave Toub made that call, and that call made it came to fruition. 2 big returns and 2 big-time playoff games. So that call, the second time he had a chance to pound a table, stand on a table, eat at a table, he made the right call. The second coach, Andy Heck, I was very critical of him when we were deciding left tackle issues. And it was funny. It became kind of like an election. We had Team Humphreys and Team Tooney. And the people it seemed to me on Team Humphreys was the analytical community. Okay? You might have had a few professional players, but it seemed like the older crowd, the former players were with Team Tooney. And all I needed to see was one game of Team Humphreys, or DJ Humphreys. Seems like a great guy, but no, not going to do it. So under Team Tooney, the Chiefs are 5-0, and I'm like you, Jason. I've seen enough. Tear up whatever he's supposed to make next year. 3 years, $60 million, 45 guarantee. Tooney, you're our left tackle for the next 2 years, and it works. And all I know is on Kareem Hunt's first touchdown, it was Jaron Taylor kind of coming around.
Yeah,
he just kind of stood there. I don't know who he blew up, but all I know, Caliendo, other than the one play that all the analytic community is going to get all their panties in a bunch about. But I think I said Caliendo has done enough. The right guard may be a situation, but I'm with you. I said it back on December 8th, DJ Humphreys, unless he gets much better, I'm with Tooney from here on out. If it's got to be a 3-year contract, because I think his number next year, it may or may not, I'm going to say it's 26-ish million. It may be higher or lower, but that number sticks in my mind for some reason next year. But like I said, Andy Heck, congratulations. You were told to do something, or you were given options, and he went with option Tooney. And him as a coach, hey, sometimes you just got to coach people up. He coached him up as an all-pro guard, and he's coached him up as a good, solid enough left tackle to take a team to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Hey, Tommy, I appreciate the phone call, man. Good stuff there. 913-381-0810.
26.9.
That's his cap hit.
Is his cap hit next year. So, Tommy Moe, you are correct. 26.9.
So 27.
Is,
$27 million for Joe Tooney, which
it's what it was this year, by the way.
Wouldn't be the worst thing for a left tackle. But as he said, if you're thinking Joe Tooney is your left tackle, then you would give him a 2-year extension. You would move that out for a couple of years. I think what they have on their hands, I don't think it's option A, but I think what they have on their hands is at least a fallback that if this offseason they can't get something done to find somebody they feel like will be their left tackle moving forward and not just a Band-Aid, not just patchwork, then they could say, Joe Tooney's our left tackle for the next 2 years, and we're going to go get an amazing left guard, or we'll pay Trey Smith so we make sure we have the interior of our line so we're not losing Trey Smith and Joe Tooney in the same offseason.
You could do it with, if you want to give Kingsley one more year,
Well, then Kingsley at left guard.
No, well, my point. Well, you could do that too. But if you think that Kingsley is still the left tackle, you just think that he's really raw. You sign Joe Thuney to be your left guard, but in the back of your mind, say, hey, if Kingsley doesn't work out, Joe, you're back at left tackle.
I mean, I think Kingsley.
That way you have a contingency plan.
Honestly, I think Kingsley has been active the last couple of weeks and not Wanya Morris because they like what they saw with Kingsley at guard.
Sure.
So without Wanya Morris, then DJ Humphries becomes your swing tackle, and Kingsley comes off the bench if you need a guard. But he's not the backup to Joe
Pass
Thuney.
catcher. What are you talking about?
What did I say?
I was being a
sorry.
No, because you can bring him off the bench to be your sixth offensive lineman and a
That's
pass
right.
catcher.
That's exactly right. To be your Caliendo, really.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear from. I put this together this morning because it just seems to be so appropriate with last night's game, because what we saw in the game was Mahomes play an absolute perfect game, as close to perfect game as you're going to find. And we saw Xavier Worthy have a dominant game. 7 targets, 6 receptions, 85 yards and a touchdown, and also 2 receptions or 2 carries, 16 yards. Let's take a listen to the through the years dating back to 2017 of this Chiefs and Bills first round sort of back and forth, tug of war, tit for tat. Bills losing the wrong side of 3 different trades. Let's take a listen here.
The Kansas City Chiefs no longer have a first-round pick in next year's draft. Wow. They just traded it along with the 91st overall pick tomorrow night and their first-round pick tonight to move up 17 spots.
With the 10th pick in the 2017 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Patrick Mahomes, the second quarterback. The New England Patriots have traded the 21st pick to the Kansas City Chiefs. With the 21st pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Trent McDuffie, defensive back, Washington.
Roger Goodell.
The Baltimore Ravens have traded the 23rd pick to the Buffalo Bills. With the 23rd pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select Kaiir Elam, defensive back, Florida.
The Buffalo Bills have traded the 28th pick to the Kansas City Chiefs. With the 28th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the back-to-back Super Bowl champions Kansas City Chiefs select Xavier Worthy.
There it is.
3 trades. 2 of them involving directly the Buffalo Bills. 1 of them with a couple degrees of separation of the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
But we talked about it at the time. They showed the War Room, right? They do the different videos of the War Room. And when the Chiefs traded up with New England to trade up to number 21, the Buffalo Bills went silent. The War Room was like somebody just died. And that's why they then traded up to get Kaiir Elam, because they thought, if we sit here, we're not going to get McDuffie or Elam. We were going to trade up and get McDuffie. We got effed by Brett Veach. Dorsey executed the trade with Veach and Andy and everybody's blessing to move up with the Bills. And the Bills feel good about having Josh Allen, but he ain't Patrick Mahomes.
And they got Tre'Davious White, I believe. And was it Matt Milano as well?
Sure. The Chiefs traded ahead of the Buffalo Bills to get McDuffie, leaving the Bills to get Kaiir Elam, and then they traded up to get Xavier Worthy, and the Bills got Keon Coleman. But in their defense, I know Worthy had a great game, right? He had the 9 touches for, 8 touches for 101 yards and a touchdown. But Keon Coleman had 1 catch, 12 yards. So it's roughly the same, I would think. You know, because Bills fans saying that Keon Coleman was better than Xavier Worthy, and Xavier Worthy's going to get exposed, and Xavier Worthy is small, and Keon Coleman's much better, and bust alert for the Chiefs, and who thinks that the Bills still got the short end of the stick on this trade, and blap it to beep bap. That's okay.
Who played more games this year? Was it the 6'4", 215-pound guy?
No, it was the small little dude that wasn't going to hold up in the NFL. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. Peterson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels, 913-381-810, taking your phone calls up till noon. Field Yates at noon. We've got Andy Reid coming up about noon 30 or so. Mick Schaefer at 1 o'clock, KSHB 41 Sports Director. Back to the phones we go. Lindsay next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Lindsay, go right ahead. What's on your mind?
Yeah, can I start with the leisure side? No, I'm just kidding. Hey, I had a quick thing. I know people have been talking about the Bills being a Class A organization, everything like that. Couple things I noticed. I understand it's the playoffs. It's going to get chippy. But it's like every year once the Bills start getting down, Big Jordan Phillips and the rest of that D-line's trying to start a fight with the rest of the Chiefs. That's all I'm going to say about that. But what I really noticed was the whole Christian Benford situation and how kind of weird that was. I do think that they rushed him back from his concussion. I do think he was out there playing concussed. Yeah, and I think that's a terrible look for the Bills organization moving forward for their player safety. Maybe they'll get an F in all their things like the Chiefs do. What was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, yeah, refs. Dude, I don't know if you guys subscribe to this belief or not. Refs are part of home field advantage. The Chiefs have played a ton of home playoff games, so those close calls, if you're the home team, they should go your way. I'll listen off air, and I'll be by to get my gift card later. Thanks a lot, guys.
Lindsay, appreciate it, man. 913-381-810. I don't subscribe to if you're the home team, you should get the benefit of the doubt every time. I just want a fair game called each time. I do think, though, it more affects the official on which side of the sideline he's on, to be honest with you, because the referee on the Bills sideline didn't throw the false start on Deion Dawkins. The referee on the Bills sideline was the one that had it past the 40, which he was never past. People don't want to talk about like, oh, look at this guy. He spotted it. Look where he spotted it. It was past the 40. Okay, well, he was wrong.
Yeah.
That's what people tend to forget. It's like, no, they went with this guy who was way closer.
Yeah.
Much closer than the dude on the other side. So the people that are saying, wow, I can't believe they went with this guy. Yeah, because the other guy was off by like a half yard.
It's a great call.
Thank you.
Lindsay.
Okay, sorry.
But by the way, I think it's a good point what you're bringing up as well, so I'll give both of you guys credit. It's human nature to almost, and you don't want it, and it's unfair, but it's human nature to almost try and appease or try and keep the peace almost, right? If you are in that's why was it 53%, I think, was this year's home away splits
for penalties,
if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I got to pull it back up. I thought it was 53%. It was
but
close.
It was more than 50.
It was close, but it was. I got to look that up. I have that. I had it. The whole thing we did going into this game with Clete Blakeman and all that stuff. Doesn't matter. Either way, I get what Lindsay is trying to say. Where the home team typically, if it's 50-50, almost goes the home way more often than not. Maybe it's 55 out of 100 times. If it's a 50-50 call, it goes 55 home team, 45 away. If that's what he's going with, I understand. I just think that both those calls were the right calls, especially based on what was called on the field. The Xavier Worthy catch, I don't know how you overturn it because the ball didn't move.
Right. There's the still shot of the ball touching the ground.
Yes.
But the still shot doesn't show that Xavier Worthy had it and the ball hit the ground and never moved. He had it before, the ball touches the ground, never moved, and still had it. That's the rule. Learn the rules. If you want to bitch about the refs, then learn the rules of what you're bitching about.
And then
you just look like a freaking clown if you're just going to argue over something that isn't a part of the rules.
And then I love the folks who talk about the delay of game on the 2-minute warning.
They just explained it on the broadcast.
Explained it.
And the official told Patrick Mahomes,
yes,
it's coinciding. It's off by a half second. By rule, you don't have to snap the ball.
It's the same rule as if when you see, and everyone flips out when you see zeros on the clock, but the refs still kind of give them that half-second grace.
Right, and they wouldn't have taken the delay or they wouldn't have taken it to the 2-minute warning if the refs had said, no, you got to snap this before it.
And that was my pet peeve with a lot of these people is they don't even care about being right. They care about being the loudest.
Oh.
They don't care about the actual facts or the actual rules. They just want it to go against Kansas City now at this point, which it's a sad state when, again, we've talked about, watching greatness, but it's not even watching greatness. It's watching football. Don't we want to watch the game and not the refs?
That's a great way to phrase it. I love that. Good job, Sterling.
Thank you.
You get a helmet sticker for phrasing it. Yes! It's not about watching greatness. It's just about watching football. Like if you just simply watch the game and you take the jerseys away from both sides, or you flip the jerseys, people are not talking about, people are actually pointing out he was short. He was short. Or Warren Sharp or whoever will say, well, yeah, they went with the ref on the bottom because the ref on the bottom part of the screen was where Josh Allen was.
Yeah.
Like the Stooley president or whatever the hell his name is.
Dave Portnoy.
Yeah, Portnoy. So he tweets out like, the guy up top, you're going to go with the guy on the bottom instead of the guy up top that has a clear view of the ball because it's Josh Allen's back to the guy, but a clear view of the ball. The still shot he sent had Chris Jones right in front of Josh Allen.
Yeah.
You can't see the ball through Chris Jones. It doesn't work like that, okay? There's a body there, all right? He doesn't have the same view that you have on the still shot where it's 10 feet in the air. He's looking through a mass of humanity and cannot see Josh Allen where he's at. The guy on the bottom of the screen has a clear view of Josh Allen. Yes, he sees the 1 and the 7 of his back, but he also knows the ball is in his right hand. And as he's falling this side, he comes in before the 40-yard line. He had a much more accurate spot. People can argue whether it was accurate or not. He was a much more accurate spot than the ref on the top side of the screen, who had it a half yard past the 40-yard line. That's what people fail to acknowledge. Well, why didn't they use that guy up there? He was more wrong. Even if you think Josh Allen made it, you're talking about inches difference between the guy on the bottom side of the screen and where you think Josh Allen got. You're talking about a half-yard difference from the guy on the top of the screen.
Feet. You're talking feet.
Yeah, foot and a half.
And by the way, it's because Little Dave is a New England guy.
That makes sense.
And so Little Dave is
That makes
upset
sense.
because he's going to break Tom Brady's records and all that stuff. And
Well,
he's
about
good
to-
at pizza. He had good at pizza reviews.
Yeah,
He just doesn't know ball.
He also is a Patriots guy that defends the Chiefs. So what I was going to say is, here's what also happens is, you're told all week that this is the Bills'
Yeah.
time, and it's Josh Allen's time. And you go to gamble, and guess what? They're getting +2, and they're in the plus money. And all you're told all week is how this is just a layup. And then you sit down and watch the game with emotion because you have money
Yep,
on
you
it.
got money on it.
And that's the
I think Drew Tranquil told him you should have taken the $1 million in Trump coin and done something else with it.
There's a guy I know.
Drew Tranquil, well done.
I do some podcast work with, and he's been a Chiefs hater because not a hater like. It's a little bit of a bit.
All these haters.
It's a little bit of a bit, but he just very analytical, and he goes, well, the Ravens or the Bills, and I go, one time for me, take the Chiefs. Take the Chiefs in the playoffs, see what happens.
Did he?
He put 6 units on the Chiefs, and he goes, all of a sudden, I wasn't angry with ref calls. I realized I'd been almost emotional.
Wrong. The defense is wrong.
Well, it's always, but that's a good point. Is at some point, like, well, when you're watching the game through the view of what you put your money on,
Yes, it's emotions.
It's emotions. And he goes, I know this to me. He put it around me. He goes, honestly, even if I didn't, I felt like the 2 calls I would have, if I'd bet the Bills, I'd have been all angry about those 2 calls. But he goes, I didn't have the same emotions. It was a much more enjoyable way of watching football. Not doing that.
Well, it's just like, we know that that's the case, right? Like we know that it is the emotional aspect of the whole thing.
Because I'm still waiting on the entire revised history of the NFL. Because if we're just doing Chiefs games, we have to do every game throughout history so we can rewrite the records, see who actually made the postseason, who actually won these postseason games. Or are we just doing it for the emotional times when we're cheering against the team
100%.
that wins all the time?
Explain the logic, though, and how dumb you have to be. How stupid do you have to be? And irresponsible with your money do you have to be to claim that it's rigged for the Chiefs but bet on the Bills? How freaking stupid are you?
Yes.
Because I saw that. Like people that put money on the Bills or pick the Bills to win, they're like, this is rigged. This is ridiculous. Well, you're a dumbass then. You're not smart. You believe it's rigged, but you bet on the other team? You bet against Rocky? The damn movie's called Rocky. 5 players on this team that were on that 2018 team against the Patriots. I mean, you have to revamp everything, trading Tyreek Hill, the players that they grabbed when they traded Tyreek Hill, all of that. Here is Brett Veach. Let's play clip number 2 when he was asked about, we've played these different clips about winning close games. Let's hear from Brett Veach on what he sees from this team as they continue to win these one-score games.
Well, I think that's kind of been the blueprint over the last few years. I think when you win so much in this league, you line up every week and you're getting teams' best shot week after week. And, we're not – I think everybody, when they play us and they come to Arrowhead or we go to their stadium, it's kind of like a litmus test for where their organization is. Okay, we're playing the Chiefs. How good are we? Well, now we'll see. And, so we're getting their best every week, even when we're not at our best. And I think that kind of builds character and it builds, toughness. And, we're going to see, the best that teams have to offer week in and week out. And so when we do get to the playoffs, I mean, we're going to be mentally challenged and mentally, hardened to a degree that when we get into these situations, I mean, our guys aren't going to flinch. And I think you see that time after time.
They face the other team's best shot even when they don't bring their best shot to a game. And they've got to find a way to get through that. And they have done those things. And it's like Chris Jones saying, we've been in these situations so often that, we don't panic. We've been here. We practice it, all of these things that he discussed with Scott Van Pelt last night. Here's Brett Veach on, look, they have had all these injuries, and he has had to go out and get DeAndre Hopkins. They've had to, they went and got DJ Humphries. Uche didn't really work out as he's continued to be inactive. They've had to bring guys off the practice squad. Remigio, a practice squad player, in punt returns. They went and got Kareem Hunt. So here's Brett Veach in this team continuing to put players out there that have performed while overcoming these injuries.
I don't necessarily know if we feel vindicated. I think we're always aggressive, and it goes back to the leadership of Clark. I mean, Clark does a great job of keeping. I'm super aggressive, and that could be dangerous. And so having Clark's leadership and guidance is a blessing, and it's that kind of great balance where he gives me the green light when he feels like it's appropriate, but at the same time, I mean, we try to be smart and very decisive in what we do. But at the same time, I mean, we have a good group here, and we plan to be successful for a long time. And we just have to be smart, and it's that delicate balance of being disciplined and aggressive. There is a fine balance, and that's why it's a complete group effort between my staff and Clark and the coaching staff.
Let's hear one more from Brett Veach. This is, Xavier Worthy talked this week that there would be a chip on his shoulder that the Bills didn't want him, and he was viewing it as the Bills didn't want him. So he was going to play with a little extra juice. He did that with 7 touches, 101 yards, and a touchdown. Here's Brett Veach revisiting that Xavier Worthy trade that Keon Coleman had 1 catch, 12 yards on 4 targets, and Xavier Worthy had the night that he had, and, of course, that trade was with the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great player, and, the Bills have a great staff. I mean, that's one of the best football teams in the NFL, and, a lot of people make it out like, well, the Bills didn't want them. And I mean, listen, they know what they're doing. They're a really good football team, and, they beat us early in the season, and that was, one of the best football teams out there. So, but look, we stick to our board, and, we have a plan, and we believe in it, and we don't really second guess ourselves. And, Xavier was a guy that, we really loved and we were passionate about, and we were fortunate to go up there and get him. And like I said, the Bills they were on their own agenda, and they've done a great job of putting together a really good team. And so happy for Xavier. I know personally those guys, they know where they could have went, and I know he's happy to be here and excited to be here. But he's a great player. He's only going to get better. Coach talked about it just like Rasheed last year. After that week 10, 11, 12, I mean, he just took off, and he's really good, and the sky's the limit for him.
That was a fantastic move. Obviously, it worked out in their favor. But, thinking back to a couple of big plays, like Juju Smith-Schuster was cut by the Patriots, and they signed him. Yeah. And then you get into the playoffs, and 2 huge catches by Juju. 60 yards He had a 31-yarder and a 29-yarder. 2 catches, 60
Yakability,
yards.
baby.
100%, dude. It was awesome. Kareem Hunt, who they grabbed, 64 yards, and luckily I did the ladder again with 40, 50, and 60 yards for Kareem Hunt. That worked out well since he got
Mike Pennell.
64. Mike Pennell, you're darn right. You know what? Let's play this one because it's pretty funny. I didn't want to go the show without playing this. Chris Jones, this is clip number 3. It's only about 5 seconds. But Chris Jones at the podium was asked about, as he turned around and saw the ball flying on 4th and 5, just floating through the air with Kincaid starting to camp underneath it, what was going through his mind?
I hope this guy don't catch this ball, please. I'm tired. Get us off the field. Let's work out.
I hope this guy don't catch this ball. I'm tired. It's 4th down. I'm tired. Come on, don't catch this ball. And he didn't. And shockingly, the refs called that incomplete. So controversial call because a lot of people are saying that he caught that cleanly, and then the Chiefs came over there after the play was over, and I think they said somebody punted it out of his hand to make it incomplete. So that was odd that he just dropped the ball based on the referees.
I just need to do a Chris Jones. Stop it.
I was tired. So that I hope this guy don't catch the ball because I'm tired. It's 4th down. Come on. And there wasn't much Josh Allen could do. I know that I can't remember who it is out there. Maybe Benjamin Solak that put out the dots and said, boy, he's got Khalil Shakir on this, outlet pass wide open. It's like,
yeah, he's on a heater right now.
It's like
Solak,
like,
yeah, dude.
Dude, don't watch the dots.
Watch the game.
Right, but as soon as he took the snap, both guys were in his face. Where does Josh Allen escape to?
To the right.
Always goes to the right. Always. He rarely goes to his left. Always to the right. He saw pressure right in his face, and he went to his right. For him to throw it to Khalil Shakir, he would have to immediately see McDuffie and Reed breaking through the offensive line, stopping and throwing to a guy who's still 3 yards behind him because he was wheeling around to get there.
A no-look pass? That is what Benjamin Solak wants. No ball,
man.
dude.
That's just asking too much of Josh Allen, who made an amazing play on that regardless.
out of place. It's Field Yates of ESPN. Now in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, a victory Monday for the Kansas City Chiefs. Yet again, here we go. Chiefs heading back to the Super Bowl. Field Yates from ESPN, he'll be down there in New Orleans next week. We are heading there on Sunday. Todd Lebo and I will be getting on a plane heading there Sunday, so we will be there for Monday's show and then opening night with the Chiefs and Eagles. So nice, they're going to do it twice in the last 3 years. Field Yates from ESPN. Field, what's up, man? How are you, sir?
Hey, Jason, I'm doing well. I was just thinking about this, as I sit here in the Hartford Airport and get ready for the Senior Bowl, which
Nice.
I can't wait for.
Yeah.
Chiefs fans have to be bored of this by now, right? Like, this is,
Never.
I mean, who cares? Right?
Never, ever be bored of this, man. It just, for 50 years, this team not getting to a Super Bowl or winning a Super Bowl. And from the time, I was born in 1980, and the crushing losses in 93 and 93, 95 and 97, and then the 2003 no punt game, and then the rough years with Scott Pioli and Todd Haley to then get Andy Reid to be experiencing this. It's like a dream field. It's surreal for sure, but I will never, I can't take this for granted or ever get used to it, because that when the season's over and you don't win it, you got to wait that whole next year and go through the whole regular season to get to that one game again. And if you lose it, I do feel bad for the Bills and Bills fans to a degree, those that are, cool. And the Bills players, because I really respect the organization and the Bills players, and I really like Josh Allen, and I hope Josh Allen gets a Super Bowl in his career, because he deserves one in his career with how well he's played. But you just know that these things are so fleeting that when's the last one you're ever going to go to? Have no idea. I know it's not this one. At least I know it's not last one, I should say, because they're going again. But you just can't take this stuff for granted. Because look, the Patriots. Patriots were amazing, and it was every year, right, Field? And now it's like another coach, and who's the quarterback, and are they going to dig out from the cellar of the AFC East?
Right. Jason, you're so right. And the ironic part is, having grown up in Boston, I've spent 2 times professionally with 2 organizations, the Patriots and the Chiefs.
It's you.
I feel completely spoiled in so many ways. Yes,
It's you. They got to hire you. Somebody needs to hire you, Field.
Yeah. I've been approached by the Jaguars. I almost got the head coaching job, and then I decided not to. Anyways, it's just that I remember thinking as the Patriots' run was coming to an end, God, we're never going to see anything like this ever again. And then it was like the baton just got passed. It was like, we're literally going to see it again right now. And, one of the realities is every week I started to feel like more and more of a broken record as we had our conversations on Monday. We go through the ebbs and flows of the season, and they'd win games by the skin of their teeth. But they'd keep winning them. And people would say, is this Chiefs team good enough when it matters at the most? And you'd say to yourself, well, here's the reality. All you got to do is get there to find out. And they got there with, flying colors as the number 1 seed. You have to win 2 games. Both of them are being played at home. And it's like, here we are. We've got this all squared away, right? And they win the games. And truthfully, and I understand that the narrative has taken on interesting life today, right? The Chiefs have become a villain in a national way. And that's, I really think that the root of that, I just think that success breeds envy. Nothing that the Chiefs have done. I don't really care personally who wins or loses, but I will say that I can identify a likable group when I see one, and the Chiefs are chock full of them, right? Patrick Mahomes is this effortlessly enjoyable athlete, and Travis Kelce and Andy Reid, probably the 3 most recognizable faces of this run. I would say all of them. I would say on a neutral party would agree. This is a very, very likable franchise, and yet they have become the villains. And get used to it. This is sort of this is the next phase of dominance for a team that has a chance to now do something that has literally never been done before, which is win 3 straight Super Bowls. And they are now the first team to go to 3 straight in which they had won the prior 2. We haven't even had a team get there for a 3rd straight year with a chance to make it 3 for 3.
Yeah, it's been an improbable and impressive and amazing run, and it did feel like that baton was passed in that 2018 AFC Championship game when the Patriots won. They went on to win the Super Bowl, and since then it's been the Kansas City Chiefs. In 1920, 21 was the Bengals, and then 22, 23, and now 24, so 5 Super Bowls since that AFC Championship game when Tom Brady, after the game was over, went and found Patrick Mahomes in the other locker room to talk with him and tell him, about his game and how much he respects him and all of that stuff. And it kind of, maybe that was the unofficial passing of the torch, was in the locker room there that day with Tom Brady talking to Patrick Mahomes, because it went from Patriots right next to then the Chiefs. And that's just so unheard of when we talk about dynasties and these amazing runs. And by the way, Field, you were right there last week. You said 27-24 Chiefs over the Bills. It was 32-29. It was a field goal game. So you got that right. You knew it'd be close. And this is just simply what they've done. And this is where you get into the, how do you weigh the one-score games, winning by close, as you said, winning by the skin of their teeth in these different games. And all year long, we're like, do you weigh those as in like, you can't keep doing this and getting away with it? Either you're going to start winning by more points or you're going to lose one of these games. Or do you view it as you start to develop the armor and the leather skin in these battles over and over and finding ways to win, that it's just sort of something you're used to doing and you find yourself making those plays more times than not? I feel like from the Chiefs standpoint, it's weighted more on it's simply what they've been and what they do, and they find ways to win late, and it's not they're frauds and they're going to get beat if they keep winning these one-score games. They're going to lose by a one-score game.
Yeah, the Chiefs may both make and disprove the point, or at least the conclusion that I have personally drawn. But bear with me here, is that I believe winning one-score games in the regular season is it can have some fickle nature to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things happen early in the season. Some teams are sort of developing and still finding out who they are. Late in the season, motivations change. There are some teams that are just chasing a draft pick. There are some teams that need to win every game just to clinch a playoff spot. When you get to I believe fundamentally that one-score games are going to be less sticky in the regular season. But I've convinced myself of this, that postseason success breeds more postseason success in games that are decided by one score, or at least close in nature. And here's what I've landed on beyond that, is that, yes, there are one-score games by definition, but typically one-score games are a byproduct of both teams performing close to expectation in the playoffs. And I think the bottom line, for Patrick Mahomes especially, but this entire Chiefs team, and this cannot be said for any other quarterback in the entire NFL, not the guy who's going to win his third MVP in a couple of weeks when Lamar Jackson takes home that mantle. Maybe you can say this about Josh Allen, but the rest of the team has not. So maybe this is really the entire Chiefs team, is to consistently execute at a high level against top competition. It's just an extremely tough thing to do. I know it's sort of stating the obvious, that you play well, you win. But think about how hard it is to just execute. That's the difference between 5 Super Bowl appearances in 6 seasons and a team like the Baltimore Ravens and Buffalo Bills and Joe Burrow and the Bengals, who I think we all agree, those are the 4 best quarterbacks in the NFL. And 2 through 4, however you want to rank them, have been there once. Yeah, and the other guy, Patrick at the top, is about to go for the 5th time in his 6 seasons as a starting quarterback. So I get it. I do believe also, and I think Dominique Foxworth, my colleague at ESPN, brought this up recently, and I think there's a point that has some merit there, is that, to the average football fan, the Chiefs have become somewhat of a boring team to watch because they grind out 10-plus play drives. They're no longer throwing 70-yard bombs to Tyreek Hill down the field. Travis Kelce is not as athletic and run after catch based as he was in the past. Defense does not move the needle as much as offense does for a casual viewer. But maybe all these contributing factors have led people to just become bored of the Chiefs.
Yeah.
But ultimately the job is to simply win games.
Yeah.
And I've just come to appreciate the incredibly difficult nature for a league that is set up for parity, for the Chiefs to just completely avoid said parity and have a chance to get their 4th Super Bowl in 6 seasons.
Yeah.
It's just completely ridiculous.
And you tweeted out last night, the first team ever to go to 5 Super Bowls in 6 years. And as you said earlier, the first team ever to win back-to-back Super Bowls and then make the Super Bowl the next year. We've seen teams win back-to-back, but every other team before the Chiefs to win back-to-back Super Bowls has never made it to the Super Bowl in that 3rd year. So the Chiefs have already done something historically that has never been done. And it's interesting when you talk about, finding ways to win these games. Teddy Bruschi, your colleague from ESPN, last Sunday after the Texans game, they had the conversation, I think it was a Sunday Countdown, And Mike Greenberg was talking about the Houston Texans and the Chiefs and saying, this team reminds me of your Patriots teams. And Teddy Bruschi was, annoyed that the talk about the refs from the Houston Texans. And Teddy Bruschi said, paraphrasing here, I should have written down the exact quote, but it was brilliant. And he said, the Chiefs know how to win the game that they're in, not just the game that they thought they were planning for.
What a great line. It's so true.
And the Chiefs hadn't scored more than 30 points all year until they had to.
Yep.
Yep. The Chiefs win earlier this year when they blocked the field goal against the Broncos. They were in a possession game, a field position game, back and forth defensive battle, protect the football, don't do something stupid. And they ended up winning that game by blocking a field goal. They've played in other games where they've had to score some more points. In this one, the Bills and Josh Allen were game. They were here, the 29 points. They have been so consistent, scoring in between 24 and 30 points almost all year and not turning the ball over. That's what they did. And the Chiefs scored more points in this game than they had to all year. And Patrick Mahomes was almost perfect and played his best game of the season. And in fact, when it comes to drop back success rate, a 99th percentile for Patrick Mahomes, which was the highest of his career.
Yeah, so probably takeaway from Teddy is it takes a true champion to identify what a true champion is, right? Because I think that's the perfect encapsulation of this Chiefs team. And so let's get to the roots of what leads to a team that can become this. I think that it's preparation, right? I think that there are certain things that I think you can coach and develop. I think there are certain things that you develop them when you go through them, right? And I understand, I'm sure, that Chiefs lost in the first year with Patrick as a starter in the AFC Championship game against the Patriots was devastating. Obviously, we all saw the emotions, and I'm not saying that of course you'd rather have won that and won the Super Bowl and be going for 5 and 6 years as opposed to 4 and 6 years, but maybe that experience, because there are a couple of key contributors that were there then that are still there now. Most notably Patrick and Travis. Maybe those are the two guys who kind of set the tempo and the tone for this team in a lot of ways, amongst others. But of course, those two most notably is that maybe being kind of hardened by defeat has allowed this team to understand the mindset that it takes. And it's any given Sunday once we get to the playoffs, and they have largely won playing games in the playoffs at home. But they've done it on the road before. We've seen it happen. So anytime, any place, anybody, the Chiefs team is going to be game. And, to win all these games is remarkable. On top of that, when was the last time they were out of a game? And I'll give you some numbers. The answer is pretty much never. And I saw this stat. Our research group at ESPN pulled this together for me, and it's just ridiculous. There have been, I use this on Twitter, so apologies if you've seen it or referenced it. 241 different quarterbacks who have started games and fallen behind in the fourth quarter at least 25 times. So this eliminates guys who have been in the NFL for just a few starts. But 25 separate occasions in which they've been down in the fourth quarter. Until yesterday, nobody had a winning record in games in which they were the starting quarterback and trailed in the fourth quarter. After yesterday, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are 27 and 26 when they trail in the fourth quarter of a game. So he's now above 500.
Crazy.
The next best winning record is 388. So to be above 500 is ridiculous. To be above 500 when you realize that pretty much everybody else is it's basically a loss is ridiculous as well. So not like it was a 21-point deficit yesterday, but you have to, the minute you go up against the Chiefs, convince yourself that you've gone down by whatever the margin is, as opposed to gone up, because this team is just completely unflappable in key moments.
Patrick Mahomes, I saw this last night as well. Patrick Mahomes has trailed in the fourth quarter in 9 playoff games. He's come back to win 6 and forced overtime in 2 others before losing. That was the 2018 championship and the 2021 AFC championship. He has a 132 quarterback rating with 5 touchdowns and 1 touchdown run when down 8 or fewer points in the fourth quarter or overtime of any playoff game, leading scores on 13 of his 14 drives in the fourth quarter.
Come on now, those numbers aren't real, right?
Right. I mean, that's video. It's a video game.
Life where I was just going to say, there was a time in my life when I actually played Madden, and I wasn't even that good on Madden when it was on
right.
easy mode. So yeah, it's there aren't too many other words that we can probably offer, and there's going to be a time when things aren't so good, right?
Right. Yep.
And so you just got to appreciate it, and you gotta you have to just. And I get it. I understand. I'm not naive to why there is fatigue around the country of the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I hope that the people that are sick of them can also acknowledge that what they are doing is incredibly remarkable, and it's the traits that, if you're a fan of the Saints or the Jaguars or whoever, even the Bills, it's the traits that you hope your team has, the Chiefs have, in such super supply that they can get there 5 times in 6 seasons and potentially win their 4th Super Bowl in 6 years.
And I brought this up earlier in the show, Field, and I don't know that I'll ever be able to get over this. The fact that, these 2-point conversions that both teams had 5 scoring drives, 4 touchdowns and a field goal. Both teams scored 4 touchdowns, kicked a field goal. The Chiefs won by 3. Why? Because of 3 different 2-point conversions. 2 of them by the Bills that failed, 1 by the Chiefs that was converted. But the 2-point conversion string of those 3 started because the Chiefs were called for a penalty. And I will never get over that fact that all of the complaining about the Chiefs don't get called for penalties. They got called for a penalty on the offsides on the extra point, and Sean McDermott went for it, got stopped, went for it again, got stopped. Chiefs went for it, got it, and they win by 3. And they had the same exact number of scoring drives, 4 touchdowns and 1 field goal. So I don't know what is, if it's irony or if it's just a chef's kiss. I don't know. But all of the commentary about the Chiefs and penalties, they end up starting this 2-point conversion string because they were called for a penalty.
Yeah, I by the way, I also this is an aside. You didn't ask this, and I'm not sure everybody cares. I didn't like going for 2 at the time. I don't. We saw it yesterday with the Commanders. Actually both. The Commanders tried to get attempted a 2-point conversion down 14-12.
Yeah.
They end up failing that. The Eagles go up 20-12, and then they go for a 2-point conversion. I'm like, who cares whether it's a 9 or 10-point game with 3:42 to go in the second quarter?
Yeah.
I'm surprised by the number of coaches that are starting to give way to just the extra point and I understand it's no longer a chip shot, but still, you'd like to think you have confidence. Both kickers were excellent yesterday. I would have felt pretty good about just 21-17. I don't know. Conversation for a different day.
No, go ahead.
I'm on board with points. Is what I like. I like points.
I've liked what we've seen from coaches that have been more aggressive on 4th down and keeping the ball. But I think some of that then turns into let's be aggressive and going for 2 and going for 2. Like, hey, man, it's the second quarter. You need points. You don't know what's going to end up happening in this game. And, hey, it's the second quarter. You're going for 2 because of an offsides penalty on Justin Reed. Okay, that's fine. But, credit the Chiefs defense twice for stepping up and credit Patrick Mahomes to stay in there with the pressure, get hit while sort of jumping in the air and finding Justin Watson for that 2-point conversion. I mean, that was absolutely crucial for them to get it done in this game.
I have a silly thought on this, Jason.
Yes.
I have a silly thought, and but game within the game here. There are people that don't believe in momentum. I happen to believe that momentum has some value. I believe emotional horsepower is a thing within a game. And I remember, and I sort of laughed, and I guess I shouldn't have at the time. But after the Bills scored this touchdown, 21-16 on that's a high caliber play, right?
Yep.
That's a bomb, and it's a great catch in the end zone.
Yep.
They missed the 2-point conversion. I see the Chiefs Twitter account, and it's full caps. It's like, we stopped the Bills from scoring a 2-point conversion. You're thinking to yourself, oh, okay, but they also just allowed a touchdown.
Yeah, right.
And yet it's a reminder that the offense has some wind taken out of its sails, and the defense gets a little shock of energy when they do that. And I get it. Those things are probably tough to quantify in terms of what they mean for the rest of the game going forward. I wouldn't want to give them that edge. I'd rather, if I'm an offense, I want to go to the sideline and just say, hey, we got work to do, but we felt good about ourselves. And I just think the Chiefs, that little emotional edge they were able to gain on defense, I just wouldn't overestimate or underestimate, I guess, how important those things can be.
Yeah, we saw 2 different 4th and goals that the Bills converted, which, those are 7-point plays. They end up, we talk about 7, but they ended up being, 13 points instead of 14 points because the second one that they converted, the James Cook touchdown, which was a great effort by him getting into the end zone. And I think, Chiefs and Ravens last year when people were saying, why Why didn't they run the ball more? Why did they pass it so often? And I think people are coming away from this game and going, why didn't James Cook touch the ball more often? Because the Chiefs didn't have an answer for James Cook. I will just say, I'm glad James Cook did not touch the ball more than he did. I appreciate that being the case, but here we are. The Philadelphia Eagles, last one. We'll get a breakdown of what you think of the game next week when we talk to you. But the Philadelphia Eagles are here again, and I just, a couple of years ago, it was so much about Jalen Hurts and coming onto the scene and what he was doing as a quarterback and running it and throwing it and what people thought he could be as a QB. And this year with the Eagles, it's so much about Saquon Barkley, just unfreaking real. And when you talk about the Chiefs are kind of boring because sometimes they'll get into a rock fight. They don't have those high explosive plays. Saquon's the exact opposite. Every time he touches the ball, it's is he going for 70? Could he go for 60 here? Is there going to be a fun spin move? Is he going to hurdle somebody? It's just so much fun to watch, and I think he's got a chance of, if the Eagles win, I think he'll be the MVP of the game. I think he'll need to be the MVP if they win. But it also could change a little bit of the commentary about, running backs are a dime a dozen because Saquon is not a dime a dozen, and the Eagles aren't in this position if they just had any old running back that was playing back there.
It's funny, or not. I'm sure. I'm probably not funny to the Commanders fans, but all week I was following along with what the Commanders were saying, and the point of emphasis 1,000 times over is it's an 11-man job to stop Saquon Barkley. If we do that, we've got a chance. And the first frickin' play, 60 yards, and you're just talk about wind being taken out of your sails. And that game was competitive for a good chunk of the first half, really until that late turnover with that 3 or so minutes left to go, and the Eagles got double dip on the touchdowns before halftime.
Yep.
But just it's a reminder that sometimes it's players over plays, or players over scheme, or players over points of emphasis. Right? You can have all the right things lined up, or have all the right ideas about how you're going to slow a guy down. But when he is whatever he is, 230 pounds and runs a 4.40, and is that dynamic with the ball in his hands? With that offensive line, it's going to be we'll talk about it more next week, but 26, 26, 26, 26, that's the point of emphasis for the next 13 days.
100%. 100%. And you know what? Credit, Nick Sirianni takes a lot of, stuff from other fan bases, this show included. They were up by 2. The Commanders had just scored that touchdown, didn't get the 2-point conversion. There's 2 minutes left. It was 4th and 5 at right around midfield, and he went for it. And, they hit A.J. Brown for that long gain down to the 15-yard line. They could have punted and played field position with 2 minutes to go and said, we're going into halftime. We're going to get the ball at half. Let's, we're up 2. And if we don't get it here, boy, the Commanders have the ball at midfield. But they got aggressive and went for it. I think, it was a good call by him. And then, at that point, touchdown, fumble, touchdown. It kind of got out of hand there before half. Field, you're the man. Appreciate it, sir. Looking forward to our conversation next week. Enjoy the Senior Bowl. A lot of fun there. And we'll talk on Monday, bud.
Yeah, I'm not sure the Senior Bowl matters. It's we're going to watch players who will be drafted by teams that will lose to the Chiefs next year. But I'll have fun while I'm down there for 4 days.
No, but there might be a player that's drafted by the Chiefs that goes to the Super Bowl next year, so you never know.
There you go. Okay, now it all makes more sense.
Thank you, Field.
All right,
Appreciate you, brother.
I'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely.
Sounds good, man.
There's Field Yates. Great stuff from him. As always, this Chiefs team heading to the Super Bowl yet again. 5 out of 6 years going to the Super Bowl, the most of all time. The only team to win back-to-back Super Bowls and then make it back to the Super Bowl for the 3rd time in a row. They've already made history in both of those things. There is no, even if they don't win their 3rd straight Super Bowl, and it's nobody's ever three-peated. Nobody's ever gotten this far in an attempt to three-peat. Patrick Mahomes has only lost in the playoffs before the Super Bowl in overtime in the AFC Championship game. Patrick Mahomes is 17-3 in the postseason in his career.
That's absurd.
17-3. This team is 23-1 since they lost to the Raiders on Christmas Day when their starters are in. The Denver Broncos game doesn't count. They didn't want to win. The games they wanted to win. This Chiefs team is 23-1 in the last 24 games they have played that they have wanted to win since Christmas Day against the Raiders.
It is insane, the consistent dominance of this team, while at times not dominating in each individual game.
Yeah, that's it's a really, really good way of putting it. No helmet sticker for that. You got one earlier.
Thank you.
That was close, though.
Half.
As we go to break, I want to throw this stat out there again. I just brought it up with Field Yates, but this is a mind-blowing stat from Josh DeBow at the AP, who was doing yeoman's work last week, by the way, and just battled. He was like, at times he felt like it was Jon Snow in the middle of the field, with everybody coming at him. Patrick Mahomes has trailed in the fourth quarter in 9 playoff games. He's come back to win 6 and forced overtime in 2 others. That'd be the Patriots and Bengals. The only one he didn't was the Bucs. He has a 132.2 rating with 5 touchdowns and a touchdown run when trailing within 8 points in the fourth quarter or overtime of any playoff game. He has led 14 drives. 13 of them were scoring drives. When trailing by 1 to 8 points, a 1-score game in the fourth quarter of the playoffs. In the fourth quarter overtime, he has scored on 13 of 14 drives with a 132 quarterback rating, 6 total touchdowns. I mean,
1 of 1.
It's unexplainable what he does in those moments. And last night, it was tied 29-29. Both quarterbacks touched the ball. Mahomes went 8 plays, 51 yards, kicked a field goal. Josh Allen and the Bills went 6 plays, 17 yards, turned it over on downs. One guy continually gets it done when it matters. The other guy gets it done a lot, but just short, unfortunately for him, of an all-time great. And somebody will be looking back on and go, I can't believe we witnessed somebody that was that clutch. Clutch gene or not, if there's a clutch gene, he's wearing it. We continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. Heading up until 2 o'clock, we will talk with Mick Schaefer at 1 o'clock. Let's hear from Andy Reid. His press conference today as the Chiefs knock off the Buffalo Bills and the refs, since that thing was so one-sided against the Chiefs yesterday. It's ridiculous. Cannot believe all of the BS calls that went against the Chiefs. Chiefs got screwed on a 3rd down and 10. That should have been an offsides on Buffalo, which would have set up a 3rd and 5. Instead, it was a 3rd and 15. It's a clear false start by Deion Dawkins on the touchdown to Hollins. These things are obvious, but people want to ignore the clear bias that went against the Chiefs in this game.
Sarcasm.
Nope. Not at all. Oh, do I sound like the losers out there? Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to sound like you losers that are out there hate watching, maybe hate listening right now. Enjoy it. There'll be a lot of talk about the Chiefs and the dynasty while you're laying in your tears in your pillow. Andy Reid's opening statement here about this team as they get ready for the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl.
I have no injuries to mention to you. I think we came out of the game pretty clean as far as those go. Unless something pops up here, which we'll let you know down the road. So, but listen, we sure appreciated the support that we had yesterday and throughout the night there, and really even to the celebration after the game. Everybody stayed, and that was obviously a Chiefs fan, so it was a great event. And when I say all of this, we understand that we've got a big challenge ahead of us coming up with the Eagles. So, but we sure appreciate everybody involved in helping us get to that point. It always starts with the Hunt family and the great job in which they do of supporting and giving us opportunities to be successful. Mark Donovan, who doesn't get a whole lot of credit from anybody, but he's the president of the organization and really does a ton for the organization in so many different ways, and helps bring this community in to be a part of what we do, and then Brett Veach for the great job that he and his crew do. With bringing players in, and then the coaches and players. I mentioned this last night. It takes everybody to get to this point. I say this because we're 19 games into this thing, and it's not about one person or one player or one coach. It's about everybody. It's everybody coming together, and there's no more important game than the one we're going to play in that we need that joint effort. And the other team that we're playing, the Eagles, they're there for a reason, is because they're a good football team. And so we've got to make sure that we keep everything together and work and get a nice plan together for this group. Anyways, with that, time's yours.
Let's start with Sarin. Go ahead, Sarin.
Coach, the short yardage, package that you guys had that you ran on that first 4th down and everything, and it looked like, maybe there were some variations of that in some other situations during the game. I'm just curious, is that something, how much of that is stuff that you guys have maybe been working on? You mentioned 19 games, like all the way back to training camp versus, something that was maybe an install this week, when you have that kind of series of plays that all seem to kind of interconnect.
Yeah, sure. Some of them we've worked on before. You always add a little wrinkle here and there to them as you go, and you feel the comfort of how the plays being executed in practice. So, but we've experimented with those all the way back to the off season and into camp. I would tell you that Coach Heck does a great job with the run game and putting that together, and so I've always mentioned that he gets everybody involved, but he comes up with some pretty good things there. So, my hat goes off to him.
And they've been able to put this thing together, and continue to pick up those short yardage gains, whether it's passing the ball, running the ball, Mahomes keeping the ball. They've done that, and they did that in the game against the Buffalo Bills, found a way to get it done. The press conference continued. Jesse Newell asked about the play call on that pass to Samaje Perine to seal the victory.
On that, Jesse, we go through and we look at this before the game, like if it comes down to a third down or fourth down and games on the line, we talk to the quarterbacks about it, the coaches talk about it. And that was kind of our number one option there as a go-to play for this game. And it was just a matter of hoping that they'd be in the right coverage for that play. So it worked out okay that way. But Matt spends endless time going through all of that with the guys. And you start on Tuesdays and you kind of refine it down till you get to the game. So, we just brought the guys over, calmed the storm just a little bit, and talked to them about make sure everybody was right on their assignments.
I'll come in with two just to help you out, Andy. Hey, congratulations again. One thing, Andy, I wanted to ask is just about a lot of competitors seem to need extra sources of motivation, extra things to push them. You always seem to very much focus on the moment and process. And is that true? And if so, where does that ability come from for that to motivate you?
Yeah, well, listen, I think all the guys want to do well. I take that for, maybe for granted. The guys don't want to be embarrassed out there. So as coaches, it's our responsibility to teach them, to put them in the best positions for them to be successful. And this is their living that they're working at. And so, you hope they can hang on for a while and take advantage of that part. And then Brett Veach does a great job of bringing guys in that kind of have that attitude, that want to attitude. And I think that's very important. It's an important part of the process. And, we're fortunate to have a bunch of guys that kind of feel that way. And at the same time, they feed off of each other, which is also important.
And am I right, Andy, that the journey and the process, those parts of this fulfill you as much as anything else about the job?
Yeah, I like to teach. And I think if you're going to be a coach, you got to be a teacher first. And there's a lot that goes into that. It's not just knowing your stuff, but how it's presented and the trust that you have in the guys and then the work that goes into each play. The detail and work and that these coaches put in, I think is important. But when we see success, we enjoy that. I enjoy that. I enjoy seeing the guys go out and do something good. I'm happy for them because I know the time and the effort that went into it. And there's an aptitude part of that,
They have focused and preached on process every single year at the beginning of the year, no matter what happened the year before. About back to the basics, starting over, everything from scratch at training camp, the installs, all of that stuff is rebuilding everything and not just, hey, we won the Super Bowl, let's just pick up right where we left off. Like, no, this is how you have to go about it each and every year. And because of that, they're put into positions to be successful. And certainly that last play to Samaje Perine was fantastic, as he said that was, quote, the number one option as our go-to play, hoping that they were in the right coverage. They were man-to-man coverage. Chiefs had trips on the left side, and all of them ran slant routes the other way, and Samaje Perine leaked out of the backfield. And I'm not sure who, maybe it'd be Dorian Williams that was supposed to have Perine out of the backfield. And easy pitch and catch. And Perine with this little stutter and then beat him to the sideline, stayed in bounds. Beautiful
This was
play.
the best coach Andy Reid game all season long. Andy, awesome. Matt Nagy, however you want to break down the ratio there, this was just impeccable.
Yeah.
There weren't many qualms. There wasn't many, why is this guy in here? Why is that guy doing that? Why are you just running the exact same play call? The fourth down with the rollout with Patrick, which they pretty much always say for big-time playoff moments, that's become a staple of this offense. But the early on with the RPOs to Hollywood, The Bills adjusted, so then the Chiefs adjusted off of that, which meant more Xavier Worthy. Just the adjustments throughout the game to always stay one step ahead, that to me was very important and impactful in this one.
And speaking of Xavier Worthy, Andy Reid was asked about it and says that he's made great strides all season long, and the best is still yet to come with this kid.
I was actually talking to his mom about that after the game. I mean, the kid every week has just gotten better and better and better, and he's really put together a nice half of the season, the second half here. Not that he didn't have good plays in the first half, but you could see he was learning in the first half, and that the quarterback was kind of learning where he was going to be and how he was going to get there, and then against all these different coverages that teams throw at you. So it looks like they're on the same page, and they'll have a big challenge this week or this next in 2 weeks with the Eagles. Their secondary, they've got a real good secondary there too.
Coach, we've asked you about Pat in like 100 different ways, but here's another. His record and by extension you when trailing in the fourth quarter now is a game above 500, and next closest is sub 4. Just was wondering if you could put your finger on what makes him different in those spots that allows him to have success there.
Yeah, phenomenal player. Had a phenomenal night last night. There's no change in him as you go. He comes in competitive. He's going to finish competitive right down to the end. The pressure part of it, when things can dilate you a little bit, when things are tight, don't do that to him. He kind of flourishes in those moments when they're the toughest, and he's wired that way. And I'm sure growing up in a locker room with his dad, was a big part of that, or at least a part of it. But some of it is just innate, that's given to you, and he's one of those guys. The tighter the situation, the looser he plays.
It shows. It shows. Andy Reid saying there's no change in him when there's pressure. He flourishes in those moments, and we have seen that. It's just an absolute treat to watch. Andy Reid continued. Adam Teicher asked Andy how they've been able to come through in close games through all the parity in the league.
I think it's a little bit of what I was saying there, just with Pat, that I think the guys, they kind of thrive on that. I look at Chanel, and he goes out, the Texans game, he goes, I'm going to block the field goal. He tells Tobe that. Tobe goes, let's go. We can get he goes, no, it's done. That's kind of the attitude that these guys have. And it's not just him, it's all these guys. And so when given an opportunity, they've stepped up in those situations. And, as a coach, you love that part. And that's a rare thing. It's these games could have gone either way, and no different than last night. And guys, they take so much pride in stepping up, and they don't shrink in those situations.
Okay, and also Saquon Barkley is obviously the obvious answer here, but in what other ways are the Eagles different than when you saw them in the Super Bowl 2 years ago?
Yeah, well, those receivers are been in the offense now for a while, and they've got good tight ends, they've got good receivers. Real good receivers, and they've got a running back that arguably is one of the best in the history of the game. So it's and their offensive line, for all those guys to work, their offensive line has to be good too. So and then their quarterback is dialing it up right now. So whatever injuries he had early in the season, he's playing like crazy right now. So it's that's a heck of an offense. Another huge challenge for us.
A lot of time that we'll be breaking down the Chiefs and Eagles and Saquon Barkley and having to know where he's at, what he's doing, and all 11 guys defending him, while also, as he said, they've got A.J. Brown and they've got Dallas Goedert and They've got
Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith. I almost said Donovan Smith. They don't have Donovan Smith. They've got.
You're thinking McNabb. He's coming back.
No, I just wish Donovan Smith was playing wide receiver for the Eagles opposite A.J. Brown. That would make it easier for the Chiefs.
Long way from Josh McCown. Was it Josh McCown, the quarterback, that one year that'd get him to play wide receiver?
Andy continued. Matt Derrick asked Andy Reid how they've built trust in the defense to come through when it counts.
David, Donald, Joe, all these coaches, Brendan, they're all in with Spags. They know the scheme like the back of their hand. Spags got confidence in them, and then the players have confidence in their coaches and Spags. And so they want to learn the system. That's a tough system, Matt. So you got to stay focused during the meetings. You got to detail it at practice. You got to detail the walkthroughs that you do, meetings on the field, and then most of all, you got to execute it on game day. But there's that trust, that whole foundation that you built with the trust, and these guys, they've got that, and then likewise, I've got the confidence in Spags, and in certain situations, I just know he's gonna. I don't ever run over to him and go, "Hey, let's not do that or this." I've got enough confidence in him and been around him long enough to know he's gonna make the right call for the right time.
And Chris Jones joked last night that you would probably be watching Eagles film at 3 a.m. this morning. How quickly do you turn the page from last night and start focusing on what's next?
Yeah, he was off by a couple hours, but I've been watching it for a while here. So, I try to get back on it. Listen, it's about the game, right? It's about how you perform in the game. And the Eagles didn't get there because they're not a good team. The Eagles got there because they're the best team in the NFC. They're a great football team. And so, as coaches, we got to dig in and get going and make sure that we can feed the players a good game plan for them. And most of that work, Matt, gets done this week. I know it's a 2-week period before the game, but once you get down to New Orleans, it's a bit chaotic. So you want to make sure you take care of business now.
Yeah, Coach, you get a lot of guys who've been through this stuff. What sort of energy do you get from the new guys who haven't been through this? The DeAndres and Hollywoods and all those guys. What sort of spark do they give you that maybe you don't get from everybody else because they haven't been through it before?
No, that's a great question, Todd. I love that part. I went around all those guys, man. I was so happy for them. And just seeing Kareem standing there going, wow, this is unbelievable. Or DJ jumping up and down, who's been in this league a while and been through a few things. Or DeAndre, man, he had a smile on his face. It was a mile wide. So, all those things. P. Ryan goes and helps seal the game for us. New addition. And all that stuff is great. That's why you do this. That's why you do this as a coach. It's just to see those guys achieve like they've achieved here.
Yeah, we heard that last night from DeAndre Hopkins, Xavier Worthy, but Hopkins, Hollywood Brown, Kareem Hunt, those guys that have been around and getting the opportunity to go to the Super Bowl for the first time. Andy Reid continued, says that it feels like the offense has been building throughout this season.
Yeah, sure. Well, it was good. It was a good day to get over 30. You knew that you were going to somewhere do that, and there was no better time than against that team because they've got an explosive offense. So, you knew you were going to have to go for it for whatever term you want to use, but there's certain situations where you just gotta cut it loose a little bit, and I think we're at that point where guys are back healthy and they've been able to practice fast with Pat, and then you cut it loose a little bit. Yes.
Andy, you mentioned particularly spending a moment with Kareem last night. I wonder if you could just describe what gave you faith that this would work out this way, and maybe your appreciation of his own circumstances after the way it ended here the first time.
Yeah, no, he called me. Hey, he just said he wanted to be there. I knew he had changed. I spent some time with him at Pat's wedding. And so and he, he's got a good heart. Even when he went through his deal, he's got a good heart. So I had, confidence that he could jump in and help us. And I knew he wanted to redeem himself amongst the community and kind of get that part that people can change, and I'm changed is what he's saying. So I think that's been a positive.
Coach, I was wondering if you could give us a little clarity about the review on fourth down. It didn't seem like there was maybe a declaration of what they were calling initially, and then when the official made the call, he said the call stands, yet there was that would seem to indicate that there was a challenge, yet there was no timeout charged. What all was, did you have an explanation or were you aware of what all was happening and why they were reviewing without a challenge and what the initial call was, all of that stuff that was going on at that time?
Yeah, sure. They can do that on scores, first downs. They can do whatever they want to do with those. From New York, that's all part of it, and I think that's a positive thing. So if it's a close call, just to get it right, either way, I mean that again, it literally was a game of inches. But I for people to know, Soren, we have two extra officials on the sideline with us that are also wearing the headset, so they keep us abreast of everything. Every call, they're dialed in with the officials on the field, and so we have an idea of they let you know what's going on at all times. And so to answer your question, yeah, I did know, I got it. There were a couple other things that went on in the game that they worked out. That one just happened to take the longest because it was so close,
All right, there you go. There's Andy Reid, and yes, on that one, he's right. There wasn't ever an announcement that first down Kansas City, the previous play, is under review. Like, they were talking about it on the broadcast as being short. We saw where the ball was placed, but nobody ever said first down Kansas City, turnover on downs. Then we heard the officials say the previous play is under review. We found out earlier in the show because we had our own questions about, all right, how did they review that? There was no timeout used. I mean, in the game book and the official, stats of the NFL, there is no turnover on that. So technically the Bills did not have a turnover yesterday, even though they were stopped on fourth down twice. But on a fourth down stop, it can still be reviewed based on if it were a turnover. They view the fourth down turnover on downs as a turnover in the mind of the officials and the replay rules, not as an actual turnover in the rule book, but they view that as an actual turnover to be able to review the spot.
And I think Dylan was one that found that. You said 2 years ago, I think you said?
Yeah, March of 23, the Texans proposed it to the competition committee.
So
it was voted on and agreed upon.
Yeah.
It's been a recent rule change. So
we just haven't seen it in a Chiefs game or anything.
If you didn't know, I don't know how often this has been.
Or any sort of like high-profile game that we've watched.
In Florio's article, he even mentions that he missed it, of all people. He sees almost everything that happens in the league, and he missed it.
Well, he was writing about Andy Reid retiring,
you're right.
so that makes sense.
But Pete Carroll's a young buck.
Yeah, he'll get around to that whole rule change thing of 23 once he figures out the year that Andy Reid's going to retire. More Zone coming up next. He was out there with post-game on KSHB after the game was over, on the field, getting interviews, looking around longingly to see who to interview at times on the TV. So we'll talk with Mick Schaefer, the Chiefs heading back to the Super Bowl yet again. We heard from Field Yates. We heard from Andy Reid and his Monday press conference as the Chiefs get ready for the Philadelphia Eagles, and a lot of that getting ready and game planning and install, all of that stuff taking place this week because, as Andy Reid said, next week is pretty chaotic. We will be there next week in New Orleans, leaving on Sunday, so we will be there starting Monday with our shows, and then we'll be there for opening night, Monday night, and every show next week as well. More Zone, 1 hour to go on a Victory Monday. That was the same play they ran against the Texans.
Yeah.
When the dude fell down.
They just disguised it better there. They sent the guys in motion, switched the formation.
And that was great. Just all three running quick slants.
Just clear it out.
They're running man-to-man.
P-Ryan gets lost in the line of scrimmage.
Right.
Pops out.
You're running man-to-man
Linebacker's
instead
too
of
late.
zone there. Makes it easy for P. Ryan to get open. And Andy Reid said in the Monday press conference that particular specific play was their number one option as their go-to play on those short yardage situations. They were hoping they were in the right coverage. And
now
they were.
And they were. And now they'll never run it again.
And they can. But
I don't know. They run that fourth down Mahomes little sweep out right.
There's a lot of concepts they can run over and over again.
No, they
You
run
just
that fourth
disguise it
down.
by formation and pre-formation and personnel.
They run that fourth down lined up in a fullback. You take the snap, spin around, and hand it to the fullback going, that's what they run all the
Quick
time.
hitter.
They run that fourth down Mahomes in the postseason. They ran it against San Francisco last year and then last night.
It's a lot of that kind of bunch diamond formation they have when you get Kelsey in the backfield.
Yes.
They ran a lot of that yesterday.
They did.
It's so funny. I didn't know how dicey the last 2 minutes of the game got because we're doing the dance, right? You got to rush down there. It's the worst.
You're like in a holding
thing
pattern
possible.
or like a
You got to
room.
get down there and it's the Chiefs, right? The biggest moments of the game are going to be at the end. Nothing's ever going to be settled. It's all still going to be in doubt. So I was running the risk. I stayed up there till the 2-minute warning, and then the play after that, right? They got the stop. So I'm running down there. I know they have to get a first down, basically. I'm trying to catch monitors, and I see Pacheco run for a first down, and he goes down. It looks like inbounds.
Yeah, that was.
So I put my head down, get on the elevator,
outbounds,
get down, and then I start hearing Mitch. I'm like, "There's a timeout." I'm like, "We're still having to deal with timeouts." And there's a third down. How'd that happen? They never replayed that. I'm guessing
it looked
the
like he was
Chiefs-
out of bounds.
The Chiefs called a timeout. I'm guessing they were looking to see if they could challenge that and run the clock. And I'm guessing they saw it, and it looked like he went out of
It
bounds.
was the most woes I've ever said in a consecutive period. I go, whoa, 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 he was out of bounds. Or no, he was in bounds. He was in bounds. Whoa,
that
whoa, whoa, whoa,
one
whoa, whoa.
and the drive
I didn't say any
before-
woe. I said, oh, man, I think he went out of bounds. But that's okay. Now, even if they don't pick up a first down and they punt it, then the Bills would have like 40 seconds left to get into field goal range.
I love them asking. I was not saying that's okay, given the
I know.
Bills
I
40
wasn't
seconds.
saying like it's okay, as in like they're fine, but at least they picked up a first down. You took a
Would they
timeout
have
away from them.
kicked the field goal? I love them asking Jay
53.
Feely.
Man, that was dicey.
Feely's like, nah, you can't take any sacks.
I love it how there's like, you can take like maybe lose a couple yards here.
Yeah.
This is-
No,
and Jay Feely's like, no,
We're not
Tony,
robots."
you can't.
No, that's a great point there. And then, Worthy going out of bounds at the 9.5, right?
at the
Instead
10-yard
of
line. Cutting
staying
back
inbounds
inside.
at the 12 to where you can get a first down still, and the clock keeps running. I'm like, ugh.
Or cutting back inside. You got one,
We just sit him down with then just an out of bounds lesson, whether it's catching the ball, running it, whatever.
But like you got one man to beat, just cut it
Cut
back
up.
inside.
Yes.
Like your speed, like Cole Bishop ain't staying.
A, you
with
might score. B, you might get a few more yards.
Yeah.
C, it doesn't matter. You're staying in bounds.
D, the clock is running. There's a lot of things
stay in
that
bounds.
went in with that. Yeah, I was watching. I'm like, oh man, I really wish Xavier Worthy would have cut that back up on 2nd and 7. There was 4.5 minutes to go at that point.
And they took the sack, right? And it was the third.
Or get out of bounds at like the 14. Or
Right,
like
so
said,
you
the
get the
12.
first
You can
down.
get another first down, yeah. But though I was talking to my son last night, I'm like, I think the Chiefs had 3 goal-to-go situations at the 10.
They
and
did.
I'm like, oh, it's the worst. First
the
and goal at
worst.
the 10.
You'd rather have it. You'd rather have the 11 than the
12.
9.
That's what I was explaining to him. 11 or 12. I'm like, God. And then when the Bills got that long play to James Cook down the sideline because it was 2nd and 1 when it looked like they had picked up the first down and like, oh, they're going to mark it short. I'm like, oh, son of a gun. But someone was like, why? It's 2nd and 1. I'm like, yeah, but whatever they pick up here, like they've got an opportunity to run a play action, go
Do
deep,
whatever they want,
do
yeah.
whatever they want. Here they got a whole, like if they pick up 10 or 11 yards, it wouldn't be the same if it was first down, and then they run that play action to James Cook around the side to pick up 30 yards, and I'm like, see,
Dad knows
it's like,
everything.
see, if it was first down, they don't run that play action there.
And now your son thinks you're smart. You fooled him.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing about being a parent.
Fooled his
You're not as
son.
cool as you think you are, but you're cooler than your kids think you are.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
gotta be.
Kids think you're pretty
Yeah.
cool.
I think your
Nick,
kids
or-
are probably at their age where they still like their parents.
Yeah,
and
my
think they're
kids,
cool,
my
right?
kids think I'm pretty cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. I
Think
got
I'm the beast.
21, 18,
Yeah.
and 13.
They think you
I'm
suck.
the dumbest human on the planet.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
so stupid.
Yeah, you're way cooler and smarter than they think you are. You're just not as cool and smart as you think you are.
Yeah.
So, So what did you? What was it to like being out there on the field? I think Steven said for some reason, like it. I don't know. I'm trying to paraphrase. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but like on the field felt like a little bit more of an accomplishment that the team felt like. This go around than maybe other years. You've been out there when it's a home game, obviously not last year in Baltimore, but did you get that same feel that there was a difference in this game as to what it meant to the players? Obviously Hopkins, Hollywood, Kareem, those guys, but Chris Jones talked a little bit about it. Kelsey talked a little bit about it.
I think like each time there's always been something that's really caused them to celebrate, to where like it's never going to be old hat. This time around, I really think they thought, okay, this is the best team we've played maybe at all in this playoff run these last 7 years. And then I wasn't there in Buffalo or in Baltimore last year, but 2 years ago, beating the Bengals, the team that had just beaten them the year before. Oh, that was an accomplishment. That was kind of a Super Bowl in and of itself. And then the previous two, it's still kind of new. And so it was. I described it as it's always like surreal. The first time around when they got there to beat the Titans. Like you're here, you're doing this. This hasn't happened in a generation for this team or longer, 50 years,
right? A lifetime.
A lifetime. Hopefully not, because I'm barreling towards that. And so there's that part, but this time the surrealness was like this dynasty has only been equaled once in this sport, and in a lot of ways it hasn't been rivaled. And this, I can't believe they are doing this again and again and again because this league is not set up to do that this way. And I remember somebody, one of the talking heads last week said it perfectly. It's like, used to back in the day, the quarterbacks, it was kind of a good old boys club. Even with Tom Brady, he was like, here, Peyton, you have a couple tries. Eli, Drew, Aaron, you can get your Super Bowl, right? Come on in for a year, whatever. Not Mahomes.
No, he's selfish.
CBing everybody.
Yeah, he's selfish. He's
Heismaning off everybody.
Yeah, very selfish.
When's the Matt Castle year going to happen?
I know. I don't. Never. Hopefully
never.
You're talking about when the
about,
Patriots.
dude?
Yeah. Why would you say that?
What the hell are you talking about, dude?
I wore my Matt Castle jersey a lot for good luck.
I don't care. The hell does that have to do with you bringing up that damn question?
No, not saying he gets injured. I'm just saying maybe he just takes a year off to play baseball. Maybe he pulls a Michael Jordan.
He plays for the White Sox.
He played for the White Sox.
He plays for the Royals, I guess it would be.
Played for the Royals with Bobby Witt.
The Patriots went 11-5 that year.
That's my
Castle
point.
And didn't make the playoffs.
Make the playoffs, yeah, because Belichick doesn't make the playoffs without Brady.
And then
no matter how
the
many
Chiefs
games.
That made Matt Castle a lot of money.
You can go 11-5 with Castle. Castle must be pretty good.
Man,
we'll take that guy.
Yeah. I'm not really wanting to ever experience that. That's fine. Just if they just keep winning.
I'm just saying 1 year off for maybe he plays left field. You know, maybe the Royals need a little extra help out there.
Get as many as you can. Win 5 in a row. Get as many as you can. Went my entire life with never watching them get to an AFC Championship game outside of one time in 1993 in Buffalo, by the way, and that was the Bills beating the Chiefs 2 years before that, beating the Chiefs in 93, going to the Super Bowl all 4 years, being the class of the AFC, just bullying everybody. Keep beating the Bills. Keep beating the Bills. I mean, do I feel bad for some of the Bills players? Yeah, Josh Allen, I think he'll get a Super Bowl in his career. I think he's deserving of a Super Bowl in his career. I think Bills fans have suffered for pretty long. But also my childhood and early teen, coming of age was watching the Bills dominate everybody and going, man, I wish the Chiefs were like that. Well, I mean, they hadn't been. So, yeah, I'm going to appreciate every single year. They win 3 in a row. Let's win 4 in a row. They win 4 in a row. Let's win 5 in a row and just stack as many as possible because they are already doing something that's never been done before. 5 Super Bowls in 6 years, the first team to ever do that. And the first team to ever win back-to-back Super Bowls and then get back to the Super Bowl in that third year. That's never been done before.
I remember, I think it might have been when Brady got there in Super Bowl 55 with the Buccaneers. At that point in his last 20 years, he had made 10 Super Bowls, which seemed like a ridiculous stat. Mahomes has made 5 in 7 years. Instead of Brady being a coin flip to start the season, right, to make the Super Bowl, Mahomes will start next year as making 2.5 more times. He's 2.5 times more likely to make a Super Bowl than not make a Super Bowl.
It's like a loaded dice.
It's unbelievable. And then, of course, the stat of the only 2 times he didn't make it, he was a whisker away in overtime of the AFC Championship. Give me a break.
I mean, it's just it's been a ridiculous run.
And only one of those times he touched the ball.
Yeah, and he has been he's now 17-3 in the postseason.
17-3. I said it last night.
It's hard to go 17-3 in the regular season.
Yeah, I said it
because that would be 20
impossible.
games.
No.
Yeah.
I said last night in our 20-hour postgame show. I was like, if you're comparing Patrick Mahomes at this point to any other player besides Tom Brady, you're wasting your time.
Mm-hmm.
There's
just passed
nobody else.
Montana, I think.
He just passed Montana. There's a couple I think he's a couple touchdowns away from maybe Montana and Rodgers in playoff touchdown passes. He'll get it in 2 weeks. He hasn't got Bradshaw's 4 yet. He hasn't got Montana's 4. Maybe he doesn't this year. I don't care. There's only one guy you're comparing him to at this point, and he's doing things at a much quicker rate than Brady. Because this is at the point where Brady took about a decade off.
Yeah.
Of winning Super Bowls in his 29-30 year.
Mahomes is one of one because of the accomplishments, obviously the numbers and all of those things and the wins, but it's also about when it gets into the most crucial moments, he plays his best football. He raises his level of play when you need him to play at an all-time level. This, again, last night against the Bills was drop back success rate was in the 99th percentile, which is the highest of his career, and there are only 4 games this year where a quarterback has had that high of a percentile game in drop back success rate. Mahomes did that last night against the Bills. They hadn't scored more than 30 all year. They needed it. They got to 32 when they needed it. Mahomes was brilliant last night. 59% of every pass he threw went for a first down, which is a 99th percentile game. And Patrick Mahomes' expected points added in the game was 20.
Yeah.
He got 20 wars last night. I don't know if that makes but his expected
20 wars.
Josh Allen got 6. He was 2 touchdowns better in how he played, using his legs, all of that. And QBR was the 6th best QBR in the AFC championship game or Super Bowl of all time last night. Mahomes owns 1, 2, 3, and 4 as well.
Oh, that counts as Super Bowl too?
Yeah, Super Bowl and championship
games.
That's
surprising because I would have thought Nick Foles and Tom Brady in that Super Bowl.
Yep, Patrick Mahomes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 of all time. But again, when he had to have it, they haven't looked like that offensively all year long, and they did when the Bills scored 29.
What's the stat? Because I think he added to it last night of since 2000, there's been 130 playoff drives in the fourth quarter where a team's been down or tied or whatever. And Brady is, I don't know, something 5 for 12 in that or whatever. And all these greats are this percentage. And Mahomes was 7 of 7. And I think he 8 of 8, right? Because he went and got the field goal last night to go get points. So he's just adding to that. It's there's never been a more consistent, excellent winner in the sport. Not even Brady, not this consistent.
No.
Not 17 of 20 to start out. Not now he had 3 Super Bowls, I think, right, by 29. So there's that part he has, but so many others he doesn't.
The stat that I saw was Patrick Mahomes has trailed in the fourth quarter in 9 playoff games. He's come back to win 6 of them. He's forced overtime in 2 of those. The Buccaneers Super Bowl is the only one he didn't. In the fourth quarter of any playoff game, trailing by 1 to 8 points, so trailing by a score, in the fourth quarter of all these playoff games, he has a 132.2 quarterback rating with 6 touchdowns, and he has led scoring drives on 13 of his 14 possessions.
Well, I had
1 to 8.
I had 2.
Yeah,
right? 2 in the fourth quarter.
Unfreaking real what he has done. He is one of one. He is unmatched. And shout out to the defense, too. I mean, the defense had to come through in different times. They had to come through. They had to get off the field with the 4th and 1 with Josh Allen. Everybody thinks that Josh Allen apparently picked up 5 yards on that play, according to some people. It was so clear. It was obvious. I mean, everybody agrees. It was the easiest call that's ever been called in the NFL.
Everybody who hates the Chiefs and has a bias agrees that was clearly
Roger Goodell wanted the Chiefs and not the Bills.
Never mind what we said last week about how they need to change reviewing roughing the passer. No, chipping the ball. spotting. That's the
Right.
biggest deal.
That's the next
And we're
one.
going to ignore that borderline roughing the passer and spots that are questionable don't exist in every single NFL game that is played.
No.
Nah, we're going to ignore that mountain of evidence and just kind of focus on
I mean,
this.
we'll also ignore the false start at the goal line, which would on a touchdown run.
Face mask.
We would ignore the false start on the Hollins touchdown before half. We would ignore those. Doesn't matter. But you know who's not bitching and complaining about the refs? The Chiefs. You know who wasn't, quite frankly, who wasn't bitching and complaining about the refs after the 2018 AFC Championship game? The Chiefs. It was D Ford was lined up offsides and how close they were and how devastated it was. But it wasn't the only reason they lost was because of the refs. You know what they did?
Remember back
they
then?
picked themselves up and won the Super Bowl the next year.
Remember back then when the entire world was pulling for the Chiefs?
Oh my
in that
God,
game?
they were the fun
That was
newcomers.
them. They were.
Look, you die the hero, or you live long enough to become the villain. And the worm has turned, and the Chiefs are the franchise that everybody hates, and they treat them as a villain. But I don't remember the last time the Chiefs put a clearly concussed player back in the game to play, who then had to be carted off with a concussion. The first time somebody made contact with his head.
It did like it, and you never know. Sometimes the smallest hits can be the biggest blows, but it didn't look like a big blow there.
And he misses practice on Friday for, quote, personal reasons while still in the concussion protocol. Then he clears the concussion protocol, and the first hit, he's got to be carted off.
Yeah.
Chiefs have never done that. I don't remember the Chiefs being the villains that did that. But when you're trying to beat the champs, you throw everything you can at the wall, and that would be Christian Benford that was out there and probably shouldn't have been out there. And you know why he was out there? Because then they had to go to Kyer Elam.
They knew the backup.
They had to go to Kyer Elam.
It is funny yesterday.
I think Dylan said off the air that Elam is so bad that the Bills put Christian Benford's future at risk, so they didn't have to play Kyer Elam.
It's quite a domino from the Trent McDuffie trade all the way to Christian Benford.
All the way to Benford.
It is so funny that yesterday the officials threatened to just give the Eagles a score, a touchdown, and the Bills were allowed to review a play after the next play. Now, okay, letter of the law on both of those. You can come back and say, okay, I get it, but there's no level-headed reasoning like that being applied to the spot, which is what everybody's going to be talking about. Like, okay, you can't really tell where the ball
there's
is.
no level.
And,
Grant the Eagles a score at the ref's discretion.
Which, by the way, I think that's BS because the Eagles are complicit in that.
Yes,
especially
100%.
on the third time. They're hard counting.
Right.
That's what they're wanting to happen there. The third time, the Commanders weren't trying to pull something off.
They didn't jump over the line like Louisville did the first two.
And then Hockey League just decides to just try to swoop in and be a hero and make a hero call, and that was dumb. Like, snap the ball. I mean, at some point, snap the ball. I get it. I get what the Commanders were maybe trying to do, but A, I'd never heard of that rule. I don't think it should be a rule. And B, there's two sides to this. I mean, they're hard counting over and over again to get them to do that, and so.
They aren't just standing in the backfield going, harumph.
Yes.
I'm going to stand right next to Jalen Hurts. If you snap this ball,
We're
I'm
trying
just
to
going to
line
tackle
up
him.
and snap it right away. No, they're taking their time. They're part of the whole deal.
I mean,
so to get that way was so dumb.
If you want to do like an extreme, like, all right, so the Louvu was standing in the backfield and wouldn't move.
Yes, exactly.
Like, all right, well,
that
it's a
type
touchdown.
of behavior, he said. Give me a break.
It's a touchdown.
That
all right?
type of behavior.
You won't move. We're just going to keep taking off sides until the game's over. We don't care.
The D tackle jumped in the neutral zone, made a little bit of contact, tried to come back on the third try. I'm like, give me a break.
Plus, I mean, in the Bills-Chiefs game, when the defensive tackle did that, they called a false start on the Chiefs.
I know, right?
Making it 3rd and 15 instead of 3rd and 5. But those 10 yards don't matter because that wasn't a crucial play.
I think they'll probably.
That wasn't a crucial play that goes every single way the Chiefs won it in crucial moments. Only crucial play. The only crucial play in that entire game was the 4th down and 1. It was the only crucial play in the entire game because there was only a minute left to go in the game, right? Oh, wait, there were 13 minutes left to go. They had 13 more minutes. They possessed the ball 2 more times, you jackasses.
I really think they'll start to take a harder look at the tush push after that because I think more teams.
I've never
would
thought
do
it
that.
should be allowed. Of course, it used to not be.
Well, I think the offensive line of the Eagles are offsides. Look at where they're lined up. The center and like the 2 guards' heads are in the end zone.
Yeah.
Like, how is that not an offensive. I don't know. I think they'll take a hard
You
look at
can't
it.
pull somebody, right? Is that supposed to be against the rule? You're not supposed
But
to.
no,
You weren't supposed to, but
you
they
can't push.
But they specifically said, while you can't pull somebody, the refs will not call it this postseason because they haven't called it.
Yeah, we've
so
seen
they
a
are
couple.
saying
I
we
think
know
that's
it's a
dumb
rule.
to have one allowed and one not.
Well, we
first
saw
of all.
Trey Smith do it in a regular season
But it's
game,
also
right?
dumb to announce that, hey, we know this is a rule. We are not going to enforce it. So pull all you want. But next year, we will enforce the rule that is on the books of you cannot pull a player into the end
It's just
zone.
as dumb as it doing it in the middle of that game because you're just telling the Commanders, hey, guess what? Even if you keep doing it, we're going to make them score.
Along the lines of rules that we don't always enforce, how about the Chiefs being like half a second away from having to snap the ball or not snap the ball, going down the 2-minute warning in the first half, and apparently everybody knew, like, even though the play clock's going to hit 0 before the clock hits 2, it's not a full second.
They overlap to a degree.
Yes, so we're not going to throw a flag there.
I did appreciate how they announced that on the broadcast that this is what was going to happen, and then the official told Patrick Mahomes, and then the official told Andy Reid, so everybody was aware of this, and then the complaining that showing the still shot of Patrick Mahomes with zeros on the clock and saying, like, did you not actually watch the game? I think it's kind of dumb to see zeros on the clock and 2:01.
Agreed.
I think that's pretty dumb. But if that's the rule, then that's the rule. Guess what? If the Chiefs were told you have to snap this ball,
they would snapped it to call timeout.
they wouldn't have taken it down to 2:01 and just taken a delay a game. Like, put our thinking caps on. Also, like the review that Sean McDermott called. Like, you know what? Let's hear Sean McDermott on this one. Let's hear him in his own
talk about this
in his own words. Let's go clip number 1 of Sean McDermott. It's about 23 seconds or so. He was asked about the challenge and calling the challenge on the worthy catch. Here's Sean McDermott last night.
You know, with the penalty, I didn't think we were going to, get the ball necessarily, but just wanted to make sure field position at that point was going to be significantly different. Upstairs thought it may have been in our control. So again, we weren't going to get the ball, but just wanted to try and win field position a little bit there. In the first half, I didn't think it was that big of a deal, and it was a big play field position-wise, the difference there.
So this is what people are missing when they, what I believe people are missing when they point out this play as going in the Chiefs' favor and the ball touched the ground, even though Worthy had complete control of the ball when it touched the ground, and that's a rule. I thought it was going to benefit the Chiefs if it was overturned to incomplete pass, because they got the first down on the defensive holding. It would have been 1st and 10 at the Buffalo 24-yard line with 3 minutes to go.
Right.
The Chiefs were not getting stopped on that drive.
Sure.
They picked up 5:26. That was after the Remigio kickoff return or a punt return that set them up. They were getting a new set of downs with 3 minutes to go. If the Chiefs take more time to score than they did after that, getting set up at 1st and goal at the 3, the Bills scored their touchdown with 25 seconds left to go at half.
Yeah.
So if the Chiefs get the ball back at the 24, they may just kill the clock and kick a field goal, or kill the clock and score a touchdown, and then you don't get into the end zone, and then it doesn't go back to the Chiefs getting the ball at start the second half. They could have maybe doubled up. I actually thought it would have benefited the Chiefs if the call was overturned.
And by the way, the Chiefs lost yardage on that first down play
great.
that never counted.
It was great. I mean, it was going to be 2nd and goal from the 5 instead of 1st and goal from the 3, and they ran that play, and they're like, all right, well, that sucked.
Well,
can we get a do-over? Oh, thanks, Sean. We get a do-over.
So I'm guessing,
thank you, McDermott,
because I was up there, we saw no refs running in to try to blow the play dead. They ran the whole play. I'm guessing they got called down and said, hey, technically the flag was on the field beforehand, which I guess is now, I thought, maybe that's the letter of the law. I thought it was almost like a timeout in basketball. If I don't hear you, right, I got to see you in here. I can't acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Or like if you're at home plate, you call time. Well, the guy's already in his windup. I'm not going to grant you time.
I'm going to lay the red flag right before snap, right on the sideline.
So
and if
what
the play doesn't go, play doesn't go in my favor, then hey, red flag was out. If it does, just slide that thing. It fell out of my pocket. We're good. We're good.
What
we got a
happened to the
turnover
days
there.
of coaches sprinting down the sideline to throw it at the ref's feet? You can just suddenly lay it out there now?
How about Patrick's, speaking of throwing that, how about Patrick's throw the football?
That was his only mistake.
That was hilarious.
I'm even
to
putting
watch.
the fumble on Pacheco.
But it reminds me of actors.
I think it was Pacheco's glove.
Yeah,
like honestly, like as he was trying to pull it out, Pacheco's glove sort of hit the back end of the football, and It happens, you know.
It's like actors in movies that clearly have never played football or sport before, and they're like, "This guy throws 95," and you see him throw a baseball, like, "What? This guy does not."
Is
throw.
that guy throwing
Patrick trying to
with the
spike
right
the
arm?
football did not look like an
Yeah.
athlete
No.
on that particular.
Well, he
play.
tweeted out, he goes, "That's why I don't spike the football."
That's right.
That's why I just flex. And that was a flex-worthy play, too.
Yes.
And by the way, Travis Kelce with
Great
a
block.
hell of a block on Cole Bishop, knocking him from the 2-yard line to 4 yards deep into the end zone was awesome. And they said, Mahomes said it was the exact same play that Kareem Hunt scored the touchdown on to the left, only this time Mahomes pulled it and went the other way because they were crashing down that way, which was why it was so wide open, and you had 2 people in front of you to block, and Travis Kelce blocking as well to get in the end zone. It was a great play. And,
It was a great play. I mean, just the best the offenses looked. The defense was amazing, I thought, in short yardage situations,
God,
all
yeah.
things considered. I mean, creating those 3rd and 4th downs, and I mean, Dalvin Cook turned into Superman, right? And that's the only
James.
way what's that?
James Cook.
Oh, sorry, James. Wrong brother. Turned into Superman just to get into the end zone there. And they were making those 4th downs by the skin of their teeth.
Yes.
It's not like they earned any sort of benefit of the doubt when it came to a call there. And then my son actually brought it up today. He's like, how dumb is it to do the dive over in midfield on a 4th down play? It's not like it's the goal line where you break the plane and you're fine if it gets swatted away. And they played with fire. Oh, was there five fumbles in the game?
5
and they got them
fumbles.
all.
They recovered every single. They recovered 4 of their own fumbles.
Yeah.
They recovered 4 of their own fumbles.
3
they
were
recovered,
Josh Allen.
And Josh Allen, one of them, when he was being pulled by Dan, and just reaches his left arm out and just scoops it up as if like, oh, this is easy.
I don't know how he got the one
Scoop
when
this
he's
thing up.
diving over the top.
Yeah, and then the ball falls right back into where that ball slides and then bounces around right back to him. The first one I understand, he bobbled the snap and then just fell on it.
Yeah.
You know, that happens. Ray Davis fumbles and then falls on
But
it.
then he was
after
close to
fumbling.
about 3 or 4 interceptions as well.
Yeah, he had 2 different on the first drive. I mean, the ball
Brian
tipped off.
Cook 2 times.
And Najee Johnson once. I mean, 2 different plays. You had Brian Cook touch the ball twice, and Najee Johnson. Najee Johnson was the one that should have caught it. That was the easier of the 2 interceptions. He was fading back. The ball was there. He jumped up and just bounced off his
The
hands.
Chiefs were so bad at catching that one that the Bills almost got it.
That's right. It hit 3 guys on that play. Najee, Brian Cook, and Keon Coleman.
Reminded me of that Philip Gaines, Antonio Brown sideline back in the day.
yes.
It had bad memories attached to it.
That's so I mean the Chiefs, obviously find a way to get it done yet again. The final 2 drives of the game, 29-29. Chiefs went 8 plays, 51 yards, kicked a field goal. The Bills went 6 plays, 17 yards, turned it over on downs. There's your difference in the game. Or people can complain about a spot with 13 minutes to go when, how about this? Don't make it close. You know what the 4th downs for the Chiefs were and 3rd downs for the Chiefs were? Obvious first downs each time. Obvious first downs. So maybe Josh Allen do something different besides a quarterback sneak over the left guard every single time. We'll take a timeout. Learn Funniest Best coming up next. This beautiful, beautiful Victory Monday. Chiefs heading back to the Super Bowl yet again. 3 straight, 5 out of 6. Cats and dogs living together. Pretty much the best parts of the Bible. We will do some Learn Funniest Best Here's presented by Citywide Remodelers. If you are ready to turn your house into your dream home and upgrade your bedroom, kitchen, and bathrooms with top-notch craftsmanship, visit Citywide Remodelers at citywideremodelers.com. So what I learned this weekend is that, well, I mean, there's a lot of things to learn from the game last night and a lot of things to learn from people that even in that game are really dumb. But learn this after the game that just, we know the Bills are sort of tortured in the fact that they lost 4 straight Super Bowls, but even more tortured in how they perform against the Chiefs in the postseason at Arrowhead. Dating back to 1972, 1972, NFL teams that have scored 4 touchdowns and committed 0 turnovers in a playoff game are 85-6. The Bills have 2 of those losses, the 13-second game and yesterday. They have a third of all of those losses dating back to 1972 in the postseason. They have those 4 straight losses in the Super Bowl, and then the last 2 times they have played in Arrowhead Stadium, they have scored 4 touchdowns and turned the ball over 0 times, and they have lost both games. Only 6 times in the NFL since 1972. What did you learn, Sterling?
I learned some kid at Auburn was at the basketball game, and they do a thing where you can putt full court and you win a car.
They make one?
And this kid made one, and it was electric. The student, everyone just went nuts. Everyone's running the court, the players, the coaches, students. Yeah, it's full court, too. It's not a big hole that they're putting into. Stop, Dylan. Dylan.
Stop, Dylan. What's that? Everybody know what's...
Yeah, so this kid just awesome. Learned that. Electric. Good for him.
It's tough with the boards. You never know. Okay, one little board can
one
take
little
the
wobble.
dimple of the ball.
But maybe the wobble helps.
Maybe it helps.
Maybe it helps. Either way, this
On the
kid,
right,
good for him. Now, have fun paying insurance.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would love to
pay insurance on $1 million.
I want to pay the taxes on that thing. That'd be great. What did you learn this weekend, Mick?
I learned that Kenny Rogers died. I had no idea. And it was a long time ago. He'd been dead a long time.
He's been passed away for a while.
Everybody that we were hanging out with, we were like, is he alive or dead? I think Islands in the Stream came on or something like that, and we didn't know. You want to know why?
Why?
He died March 20th, 2020.
Yeah, he did.
What was hitting right then?
Oh, COVID.
COVID. So he just lost in the shuffle.
He knew when to fold him.
I feel like we need to go to break on that.
I know we can't.
Can't top that.
We can't.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. We are not allowed to go to break at this point. Well, okay. If you would have asked me if he'd have played the game dead or alive with Kenny Rogers, I would have been like you. I'd been like, I don't know. Did he get across the line on 4th down? I'm not sure. What did they call on?
I didn't know.
Was dead the call on the field or alive? Because I'm just going to stay with the call on the field here.
It was confirmed.
I don't feel like there's enough evidence here. The call is going to stand with whatever you went with. What'd you learn, Dylan?
I learned that I need to be publicly criticized, not too harshly, but by Tiki Barber at some point, because it turns out that it brings you pretty good luck. The last 2 Giants that he has publicly criticized since he has joined the broadcasting booth.
Oh, no.
First was Eli Manning in August of 2007.
Oh.
The next one, Saquon Barkley, the year before before the season this year. So both of those Giants, after being publicly criticized by Tiki Barber, played in the immediately next Super Bowl.
Wow.
Eli Manning winning it. Hopefully Saquon doesn't have the same
wait a minute.
luck.
Wait a minute.
Hopefully it ends there, the comparison.
Damn you, Tiki.
Anytime Tiki Barber is criticizing you on the football field, it might actually be a good thing.
Rondé's always been my favorite.
What about Rondé? Yeah.
Rondé, yes. Rondé's actually a Super Bowl champion.
We get to hang out with Rondé in the Super Bowl last couple of times we were there. Funniest, we start with you, Sterling.
You guys remember those And One T-shirts?
I do.
I looked up and went back through one of those
documentaries on them.
They're so good. I met the guy, super nice guy.
The professor.
But not the players. But if you remember the T-shirts and what they would say, I think we need to bring these back. It's a guy holding a lunchbox on one and goes, "What's wrong? Mama forgot to pack your game."
Oh, yeah.
What about a guy holding a number and it says, "Take a number. I'm serving everyone." There's some more good ones in here.
Do people actually say that on the court, though?
Hold
the
my
end one?
trophy while I kiss your girlfriend.
That's a
Typically-
good one. This one is holding out a chair that you would sit in, like a therapist chair, and it says, "Take a seat. Class is in session." That's a pretty good one.
Typically, like when it's Skip or like hot sauce or anything like that, when they do something, they don't typically say that it's just, "Ah!" That's typically what is said after one of those amazing and one videos.
Finally, the best two. The runner-up is, "No wonder you're a mid-range specialist." That's pretty good. And the best one is, "Go to church. Pray you don't guard me."
Nobody has said any of those ever on a court.
I don't think I would be like, oh, that's not really a burn. I don't think it'd be offended
You would
if
immediately
somebody
get
said
picked
that. Like,
as
this
like
is dumb.
everyone would want to guard you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we need to
Something
bring
like that
these
on
shirts back. That go to church. It's just he's pointing at some pews, and it says, "Pray you don't guard me."
odds of there
This is
being-
starting to sound like something you would really, really like that you would say.
Hey,
The odds of it must be
grab a notebook.
Must be a church.
You're about to get schooled.
It's a church basketball league. If he's pointing at the pews while saying, "You better go to church," well, we are, Brother Hezekiah. We are playing here at this church basketball league. Mick, what was the funniest from the weekend?
Well, it was sheer terror for a while. It was the final minutes, as I was talking about, of the game last night. And so I had multiple wardrobe changes. It was like I was hosting the Oscars because I got up there at 9 a.m. and I had 10 a.m. pregame show. Different weather, right?
Awesome.
I didn't want to wear all my ski stuff in the press box, so I'm dressed down. Then I put a lot more back on, so I'm dressed. I take my credential off. I set it right there, and I'm horrible with credentials.
No.
I am horrible with credentials. And so I knew it. I'm like, I'm putting it right there. And so I put all my stuff on. I'm ready to go, and there is no credential whatsoever. It cannot be found. Todd Palmer works at KSHB right next to me. He's like, "Is it in your pockets?" I don't know. I'm checking them. It's not in my pockets, I swear. And so I have two duffel bags there. I have a duffel bag, a backpack. We're combing through the entire thing, dumping out pens and old credentials and everything. And eventually, he just starts undressing me. He takes off my coat, and he starts patting me down, right? Is it behind you? Is it in your hood? And he's undressing me in the press box in front of everyone. I'm so frantic. I'm so upset. And then I'm like, wait a second. And I call down to Mackenzie, who is down getting ready to go on the field.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Hey, do you have my credential?" "Oh, yeah, it's around my neck." So she had two credentials around her neck, and she's down there. I couldn't get down there. But thankfully, I'd caused enough of a scene that the people up there are like, "We know, we've seen you here before. We'll get you down there."
We're aware
And
that
so
you're Mick
we were both
Schaefer.
late getting onto the field, the celebration, because we had two credentials, but one person was using them, and we laughed about it later. By the time I was like, I was on the field strangling her like Happy Gilmore with this caddy, right? Like, all right, I'll let you live.
All right, you
I'll
can
let you
They
live.
let
more
you
day.
on because at that point you were shirtless. You were tarps off. And
I
you were
was just like,
One-
got to get this guy out of the press box.
1 day contract. You'll sign your 1 day contract for tomorrow too. We'll see what happens on Tuesday. Dylan, funniest for you?
Funniest for me, I'm sure everyone saw it, was Grunny's tweet immediately after the football
I
game.
didn't see it.
His is at Grunny61. I don't know if I can read it.
Grunny?
He was, I think he was saving this one in the drafts. This is a attack on a well-deserved attack at ESPN, and Dan Orlovsky caught a stray.
Yeah, he
as
went after
well.
Dan too.
Wow.
So yeah, it was good.
Say
All the
it.
haters.
What was the,
we don't
tweet?
get to hear the tweet.
Yeah, I
all
wanna
you
hear it.
haters on blank ESPN can kiss my ass. Stick it in your pipes and smoke it, jackass Dan Orlovsky. Enjoy covering the Chiefs for another 2 weeks. A lot of laughing emojis.
All the talking heads, minus Stephen A. I usually don't watch the shows, but this morning I was up sending emails, all that stuff, watching on all those Get Up, Get Down, all those shows. Unleashed, unhealthy,
Leash 'em out.
right? All that
It was
stuff.
unleashed, and now it's actually leashed.
Is it leashed?
It's
Okay, yeah.
leashed now.
All of them heaping nothing but praise on the Chiefs. I feel like it was Stephen A. was the only one that mentioned the questionable officiating.
Yeah, of course. Questionable
No
officiating
way
is-
Stephen A. would do that.
That was weird.
Questionable officiating,
Shocking.
one play. I mean, it's just like we're talking about 1 or 2 plays total that's questionable, but
No,
there's
that's
no
enough.
such thing as a questionable call against the Chiefs. People are dumb. My funniest from the weekend was, last night when they went to Mick Schaefer, they cut to Mick out on the field,
no.
and Mick was just standing there looking around.
I heard that. Why'd they do that?
And they were waiting for Mick to say something or do something. He's just looking.
Did they
looking, I'm
toss to me, or did they?
I'm like,
were
man,
they
I want to know who Mick is looking at right now because he is really interested
know?
in that person.
I was looking for Mark Richter at that time.
There we go.
Because I had seen him on the field, and he's like, "Yeah, you want to talk to me?" Joking. I'm like, "Yeah, I do actually. We have a ton of time to fill."
Mr. 99.
So we got our interviews with all the players and everything. And I was looking around for him, and then so many people were texting me that shot. I'm like, that's actually an amateur move on my part. Do not step in front of the camera unless you are ready to deliver
That's
something.
the point. Yes,
I did not need to be standing there.
My actual funniest before that happened was in the Mavs game. It's the first part is not funny. And the whole thing isn't funny except for the commentators.
Dallas Mavericks?
The Dallas Mavericks game. Kyrie Irving is on the one side of the floor on the wing, and he throws a cross-court pass with some mustard on it. Not literally, but he throws it pretty fast.
That'd be kinda
There's
cool.
a family of three sitting in the front row, and about probably a 12-year-old boy.
Did he kill them all?
He did not.
Okay.
But as the ball is flying, unfortunate timing where the dad sort of looks to his left and the son looks down, and the ball flies across the court so hard, and it hits the kid in the head and bounces like over by the baseline, and the kid head just ricochets back, and everybody's sort of stunned in what's going on. The players walk over there, and he's sort of like holding his face, and the commentator's like, "Oh man, that's too bad. That had to hurt." Well, he's probably just stunned more than anything. And as the commentators are saying he's stunned more than anything, there is blood leaking from his face, just like streaming down his face, and they're going, "Yeah, it's probably just one of those things where you kind of get stunned and you're, kind of scared about what happened. You have no idea what took place." While they're saying this, the trainers are walking over and putting a towel to his face. And it takes another like 20 seconds when this kid has a towel on his face where they go, "Well, there might be blood there." Oh, you think?
Was it his nose?
I guess it was his nose that ended up, because the towel was over his whole face after. But then the whole time, like Kyrie's walking over there and he's like, "I'm fine, I'm good." They're holding the towel against his face and he's like, "I'm good, And
Just
I'm like,
sign me some shoes,
Like
Kyrie.
meet the parents
Give me
when they're playing volleyball.
That's right. Yes, it was a big shot.
Big shot.
That's
So that was. Are we in the funniest category?
That was
still?
my funniest.
Okay,
that was my funniest because the commentator saying,
Nick's like, is that funny? Is that
like I
was
said,
supposed
the
to
whole
laugh?
thing wasn't funny except for the commentators going, "He's just stunned more. He's fine. He's
It's called-
okay."
It's actually learned, funniest, injured.
Yes.
We're finding injuries.
Learn and funniest laughing at people's injuries.
In real life, I laugh at that stuff all the time, but in radio life, I try to be nicer and like more composed and a better
that makes
person.
total sense. Yes. What was the best for you, Mick?
I found out
The Mavs game. Kyrie Irving
Yes,
nailed this
crazy.
kid in the face with a basketball.
The whole time, the wife actually left her husband for another man at the
was
time.
Kyrie.
Yeah, it was Kyrie. I found out I'm driving to New Orleans Saturday,
Oh.
so that's great. I just love
That's
to,
your best?
I love to drive. I love to drive. Yeah, it's my
Why
best.
are you driving?
Driving.
Because TV stations are poor.
Love driving. I'm an excellent driver.
This is our first Super Bowl that's really drivable.
Is it though?
13 hours?
Is it
12.
drivable though? Is it
Uh,
though?
Yeah. Well, the more people drive, the more people we can send. So
That's
why.
a good point.
But I was
that makes
I was
sense.
told that the first crew, and I'm always the first crew because I'm there for the arrival on Sunday, was flying. But no, I get to drive.
I'll go with you, Mick.
Yeah.
That will not make it better.
I already have to go to the bathroom. Can you pull over?
Yeah.
No, they like four people
I
going
want
in the
corn
van.
nuts.
I am a we drive till we drive guy.
Yeah.
Well, I do not stop. Like we'll get. Hey, let's pack a cooler. We'll have multiple meals here. Let's go and go and go.
Yep, empty the tank before we go on the road. Dylan, best for you?
Best for me was the use of the Indiana Jones GIF when Saquon scored immediately after their 18-play record-setting drive that the Commanders had, and it's the scene where he's the guy's doing all the sword tricks.
Yeah,
and
that's
things,
right.
And then he just pulls out the gun and shoots him. That was awesome. And then also after the game, or actually one more, the Mara pics that are starting to come out of him with his hand in his head during the Hard Knocks, where he's saying, "Boy, I'm not going to be able to sleep at night."
Yeah.
Those are going to definitely come in droves
Yeah.
now. And then the last one was Zach Ertz, Fletcher Cox in the tunnel after the game. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is,
Fletcher Cox consoling Zach Ertz after losing
Yeah.
the game. Former Eagle.
I stopped watching. It was like 50-41 because we had stuff to do before the game.
55,
I didn't find
23
out till
final.
like late last night. He scored 55.
Same. That's
pretty
actually
bad.
how I found out as well.
Pretty bad. My best overall last night, Chiefs winning, obviously, but the video of Kareem Hunt sort of walking around the field and sort of taking everything in,
I
I
was
thought
right
was pretty
there.
cool.
I was watching him, and
Was
I'm
that
not
who
a
you were
good
looking at?
journalist. Yeah, that was it. I'm not a good journalist. Other people got video. I'm like, I should have.
I should have done that, yeah. Sterling?
Just the Chiefs, man. This is
Just
just
the Chiefs.
insane. It's absurd. How could it not be the
Just
Kansas
the
City Chiefs?
Learn funniest best. We'll take a timeout. Wrap up Victory Monday next. Just keep rematching with these teams, right? I mean,
Yeah, I like that.
Chiefs and.
Do you think they're going to put the part
like it.
part two, but part due? But they'll
Part
do
deux.
it. But they'll do it with because it's in New
Yeah.
Orleans with like the
Fleur de Lis.
DEOUX or whatever it be.
I did like one particular dummy that tweeted out that this is all rigged. Way to go. This is going to be the lowest ratings ever. Nice job, Roger.
Like last year's?
Yeah. But it's like, so Roger Goodell was so smart that he rigged it for what you're saying are going to be the lowest ratings ever. Do you think? Do you
Can't
ever
keep track.
think?
I thought they're rigging it to make all the money because that's what people want. They don't want the New York teams to be good. They want Kansas City to be amazing. I found out that the Chiefs are practicing at Tulane, by the way.
Are they?
Going to be their home base.
Very
so I
cool.
imagine the Eagles will be at New Orleans Saints facility.
So-
Well, yeah, because they're the home team this
I'm
year. So
I'm
NFC's home team.
practicing at Cafe Du Monde. Practicing eating a whole bunch of beignets.
Who's going? Are you guys going?
I'll be there. Yeah, I'll be eating
Todd and I will
crawfish
be
at
there.
Touffet.
Todd and I-
So nobody's going?
Todd and I will be there for 8:10. Sterling
I
will
will
be
be
there
there
for
as
his
well.
part-time job.
For
That he
my
thinks-
for a
that he-
podcast for
that he thinks
auctioneering.
Auctioneering, real
Really,
estate.
Super Bowl week.
How many jobs
His
do you have?
part-time job takes
I have a lot of
precedence
jobs.
over his full-time job.
Okay, that
on
makes
Super
sense.
Bowl week.
They're happy. You don't have to pay to fly me down. Someone else pays to fly me down.
Yeah, we're
Yeah, but they don't
full
have to
in
pay you
our
to fly
car.
you
I
down to then
don't
not
have
do
room.
anything for the show also.
Yeah.
So
You're not
Love
doing
you.
anything for the show?
I'm doing a lot.
Okay.